there will be no real non-controlled currency in the world.
We're coming for you, banks.
Listening to different podcasts, like in a whole different reality, which they think completely different things about Bitcoin.
They have got my money in their banking system. I should be able to access it, right?
Apple is live.
There's a good number of fucking, like, pretty smart Bcashers.
Let's go.
All right. Hello and welcome back to the Bitcoin Cash podcast, following Bitcoin Cash on its rise to global reserve currency. This is episode number 169, State of the Revolution 2025, our yearly Christmas episode featuring Ryan Giffin, Kallisti, and FiendishCrypto. Today is Saturday, the 20th of December, 2025. I'm your host, Jeremy. Jet is doing the producing. Same as always, quick check-in on the price, including the comparison to last year. So the headline is from 309 to 1 against BTC in Feb to the cusp of top 10 last year. 2024 Christmas episode, BCH was at rank number 19, but this year it's at number 11. Last year, $454 and 42 cents. This year at $592.98. One BTC last year buying 214.5 BCH, and this year only 148.9 BCH. And last year, one ETH buying 622 megasats, and this year only 504 megasats. So all around an absolutely stellar year on the price. We will obviously be mentioning that throughout the episode, but just to kick things off, I'm wondering if anybody wants to jump in there with some thoughts on top 10. Are we we're right on the cusp, guys. Are we about to take over crypto? Is that what's going to happen in next year?
We have already taken over crypto. No one just knows it yet.
The truth is, what's it called? The future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed yet. Bitcoin Cash is already here. It's just not evenly distributed yet.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment from Fiendish, and I'll share more in the episode on why. There's something big going on underneath it all, in my opinion. And this might be. Last year we said, like, was it the best year for BCH?
Yeah,
I think this year may have been the best year for BCH on so many factors. Again, so if we compounded two like better years, this is the momentum. And yeah, we are over $12 billion market cap, about to swallow Cardano, take out Doge. I mean, I think we're top 8 here pretty soon, but time will tell.
Yeah, you're right. That's an exponential if we can always have a better year every year than the year before. And I was thinking that exact same thing. 2024, we had probably the best year ever. And now 2025, similar kind of vibes. So we are looking good. Let's kick it off and get straight to it then. Ryan returning for his 5th Christmas episode, a BCH merchant, BCH YouTuber, Bliss co-organizer. Definitely tell us about that, how your experience was second time around, and just in general, what you've been up to this year. How's BCH going in your area? What's been happening in 2025?
Yeah, 2025, definitely just a little bit personally, after Bliss, I had a lot go on. Personally, I Commercial Kitchen Stop, which is one of my companies, we did our largest acquisition, which overall went really pretty well. We also were ambitious to upgrade an ERP system that did not go well, and it's been taking up pretty much every waking moment of my life to properly integrate and get my company running good. But I'm really proud of the company now. We employ, over 60 people. Like I said, we're learning a lot about that. And, I always share with people, like, my story with crypto and this, and I always tell people I became an entrepreneur so people would take me seriously if I talk about crypto, like rather than being a crypto anarchist online. I wanted to get into the community and do that. So still spreading that message. And then also while I was gone at Bliss, Jeremy, my partners opened another restaurant, which has just been a lot. And then my kids are much older now. My son's 9 years old. I took on being the head coach for his travel baseball team. So a lot going on in my life outside of crypto. In regards to my channel, though, it's been steadily growing. I want to talk today about just a lot of things that I think I'm seeing, at least from an American perspective, with just like truth in the world. A lot of our episode last year, we talked about the hijacking of Bitcoin. I think Americans right now we use the term, and I think properly, and the term I want to use today is just psychological operations going on. And I definitely feel like Bitcoin Cash was one of the largest psychological operations to happen. And I think we see the unraveling happening. And I'll share more at an appropriate time in the episode. I'll let everyone else introduce themselves. But these Epstein files are very interesting, and I'll share more in depth on it. But essentially, I think they're, in terms of narrative wars, which we've been against. I think what BTC is facing is being Epstein coin and Bitcoin Cash being Bitcoin, and that's a pretty easy narrative to win. Which has a lot of truth to it. And if you read, he was actually the person that stepped in to save the Bitcoin Foundation and take over us paying for the development of BTC. And if that kind of tells you all you need to know, but we can go more in depth. But excited for Bliss this year. A lot of good things. You guys crushed it with Blaze, created a lot of optimism around the development around Bitcoin. Just in general, UTXO scripting, and that narrative just compounds on itself. What is BTC doing? Just waiting for an even richer person to buy it and hopefully buy a lot more, or really creating future technology for users around the world. So that's the narrative war that we're up against.
Yeah, and you were talking last year about your business, finding some bigger businesses, suppliers, and so forth to onboard to BCH. How's that going? You're still doing a lot of BCH traffic on the regular?
Yeah, it's I'm working with BitPay to do it. It's a lot more. Some of these companies that I'm talking to, they're $100 million companies. Learning how to deal with it from a holding on your balance sheet. They are not quite there yet, but just getting them to accept it in a way that we're looking to also support the Bliss conference. Similar kind of thing. But I think it's just getting them involved, giving them some Bitcoin Cash. Every year when I see them at a conference or something, it's been a good conversation. I think I shared, I had one of my friends and a potential investor just put 500,000 into BCH the other day. He's like, so it's a mixture of people still, you wanting to, use it in business practices, but they still see it as an investment. I always tell people, they're like, "Oh, Ryan, is a good time to buy Bitcoin?" I'm like, I don't know. I just have all of my money in crypto, and I just view it as money. And sometimes it goes up really high, and sometimes it goes down. But it's just money. And everyone's like, "Oh, you got in back when?" I'm like, I'm just all in. It's just money. I don't. And I get more of that, and we'll probably talk about the speculative nature of it, but I think that's a healthier way to view it. Is I don't know where the price is going. I just use it, and I'm part of a great community that is doing incredible things. And look at us, we're 5 years strong here, and God, from where we started to where we are right now, it feels like we're just getting started still. But when you sit back and think, there was the eCash split back then, and we had the CoinFlex debacle and all this, but damn, the last few years, it's just been, and knock on wood, just kind of smooth ride, and community alignment, other people interests, a lot of speculation about price going parabolic, like Zcash, which Zcash had a tremendous year. I think we'll see something like that happen in the near future, even more parabolic potentially if the narrative script really flips, where you could see Bitcoin Cash do stupid things. But not too worried about that. It's just money. If it does, that's my money I have, and that's good. If not, well, I can be patient as well. I've been patient for many years now, so it's fine.
Yeah, I think that point about the business software is actually really important. I think that's something we need to get better about sort of in the next year. I think that's going to be one of my big themes that I'm trying to push on, is that BCH is doing well at breaking into the narrative, but we also need to kind of professionalize and step things up a little bit. You know, I mean, of course, we can all point in the ways that we're outperforming BTC, or we're outperforming Ethereum, or we're outperforming, you know, anybody else, and feel like we're all so much better. And maybe in some ways we are, but that's definitely not enough. Actually, to win, we have to be the best money, and that means, you know, the USD, and it also means the amount of stuff that they have built around that, all of the accounting software, all of the tax and compliance stuff, all of the legal stuff, everything. Like, we just have to rebuild literally the entire stack of money. And I think BCH is starting to get to the point that we need that to onboard people in those serious ways, right?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of regulatory pressure on it, and I could be wrong, but a tool, you know, for adoption, if you can just receive BCH and settle kind of whatever you want, like instantaneously. In talking to the Selene team here, I'm sure that has lots of huge hurdles around it, but that would be a huge tool. Like, you would be signing up people, you know, anytime you interact with them. I mean, it's just like, you want to accept credit cards, wires, this, that, you know, just because the overall massive spendability isn't, you know, there. So just being like having the comfortability to receive and spend at ease is the circular nature. But I definitely think a tool like that, which working with BitPay, to be honest, is bad. We faced in Slovenia. I'm trying to remember the name of the company that, you know, seemed to have a good thing going there. For whatever reason, that seems to be falling apart. That was really disappointing this past year for us. But it's definitely, you know, a good tool for usage, and, you know, especially like people like us that want to organize in a city, that we can do that. You know, that's why Slovenia is a gorgeous country too. I always love going there. I've fallen in love with the country, but that was definitely like so cool to be able to do, and, you know, something that, you know, is kind of going to be missed, and we got to figure that out. So, but
yeah, it is going to be a real challenge, I think, for us, and kind of in a way we're a bit out on our own in this regards, because that's the real problem with some of the bigger cryptos having got so diverted from P2P cash, is they have not solved really a lot of these problems with basic accounting or merchant tools or whatever. If they had, we could just replicate that and kind of go from there. But I think we're the number one coin that's actually looking to be used in a peer-to-peer economy, realistically speaking. So I think it's about time that we step up on that front, which we're only able to do, in fairness, because we've solved a lot of the other problems. Of course, that was not the first hurdle that we were facing. So I think we are looking good for that in 2026, but it's somebody's going to need to take things up a level there. And I think it's going to have to be us. Speaking of that, Kallisti, Selene developer, BCH Twitter warfare master, you're back for another year on the Christmas episode, and I'm sure you can add a little color about this business tools. I know that's something you and I have been talking about, but just in general, how you doing? How is your 2025?
I would say 2025 has probably been one of my personal best years, and I guess one of BCH's best years too. Maybe the two are kind of linked nowadays.
A
Yeah,
lot of
but
overlap.
things are going all right overall. Yeah. Yeah, there's been like some other stuff that's also been like going not great, that just been trying to manage in the background, but I'm getting better at like managing things in general. Like, I don't know, this has been a lot of life. Hang on, I gotta go turn off that alarm because it's my phone telling me that it's sunrise. One sec.
It's sunrise. Look at, he's straight into BCH. Okay, Fiendish, you're up next then. Moving right along.
Well, I was
BCH
trying to do this
advocate.
thing where because after Bliss, well, it was a couple months after Bliss, my girlfriend and I went on a vacation to Thailand, and that was like really cool. And I loved it there, but it was 12 hours ahead of my usual time zone. So any time that I switch time zones, like even going like from Eastern time to Pacific time in the US, um, my body just kind of naturally starts waking up when the sun does. But then my natural circadian rhythm kicks in where I'm like waking up at 10 a.m. again. So I'm just like, man, those couple hours at the beginning of the day really make a difference in like how the rest of my day goes a lot of the time. So I have to like consciously get myself up earlier, because like right now I'm all like messed up because it's like, oh, and the sun's not even up yet. Now it is. That was the alarm. But anyway, totally off topic. BCH things. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. And how are we doing on Selene? It's been a pretty decent year for Selene Wallet. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's been a great year for Celine. I'm really happy with where the wallet is now. Like last year I said that, I was like mostly happy, but I think I'm like really happy with it now. Still, edge cases and polishing things, and as we add on new features, there's gonna be more of that. But I mean, like the core wallet is like good. It's like even when I'm afraid of stuff breaking now, like I have like this trauma because every single time that we've released anything, like something broke, and I'm just like, ah, gosh, I have to like fix that. And sometimes it was broke for like a long time, and it's like kind of embarrassing. But we're trying to just do better all the time. Kind of the same way that Ryan was saying, we're learning because we're doing things that we haven't done before. It's the same thing that I said last year too. Is man, I've never managed anything as big as Selene, and it's only gotten bigger. We've only gotten better at doing that though. So I mean, I'm very optimistic. I think we're really well positioned going into the next year, and I'm really excited for what we have in store.
Yeah, I mean, part of how I feel about it is, in a way, if we're not breaking stuff, it means we're not moving fast enough, right? So that's why I'm always the more like, okay, well, we've broken stuff, and sure, obviously, we don't want to break anything that is actually going to rug any of our users or anything like that, or have people losing their seed phrases or anything. But we've
Track
avoided
record's
that.
good there. I think we've had like
Yes.
exactly one instance of like lost funds that we refunded.
Yes.
It was like the instant double spend thing.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we're actually holding up okay on that. But it's true, we probably next year are going to focus a bit more on the kind of reliability, and also just scaling up the team, getting some more people involved, which will help get more eyes on things. And that's how you catch stuff that gets missed, even if it's just things at the edges as well. So I think we can make big improvements there as well. Talk to us about the roadmap. What's going on for next year in Selene? You put up a Twitter post recently, cash fusion, stablecoin mode, backups, some more stuff. What's on the roadmap and how did it get there?
Yeah, well, let's start with how did it get there, because it's kind of a whirlwind. I'm just actually kind of recalling, like, man, Bliss feels like it was so long ago almost, but it was just May. So much has happened in just 6 months. So let's see. Right now, we're working on improvements to the assets tab, like our coin control and token stuff. There's been a lot of requests for like nicer interactions with NFTs, like being able to click on them and view them and stuff. Obviously, we want that too. So working on that. The UI is looking a little bit slicker every time, and we're doing some improvements to the coin control so that you can manage your tokens directly, and then we're going to work on getting address management in there in a nice way too. I'm still trying to think about how we want to present that. For those who don't know, I guess podcast quick Selene tip, right? If you're in the experimental mode, there's actually a super janky address manager in the wallet tools section. So fun fact, if you ever want to look at that, it was a debug tool so that I could try to fix the scanning way back when. So it's very janky though. And anyway, so stablecoin mode, that came up because some of our friends in Argentina reached out and were like, we want this feature. And one of the Bliss participants and one of our Flip Starter contributors, Renegade, had actually commissioned a BCH community member to do automatic token swaps for, if, like, let's say somebody sent you some stablecoin in your wallet and you had no other sats in your wallet, you can't send that token, but he commissioned some code that would automatically tap Cauldron to pay the miner fee. And that's brilliant. That's kind of the foundation for how the stablecoin mode works, is we're just tapping Cauldron to do that swap right away when you receive, or when you're sending out as well. So there's just a couple of little like quirks we still got to work out with it. Like just some small bugs with like how it changes the send logic that we need to work out there. And then there are further phases that are going on with that overall project with our friends in Argentina. So that's where the extended self-custody tools come in. They want to scale some of their business tools, and it's kind of, we're all kind of leaning in that direction, I think, as an ecosystem, because if we look to say Paytaka, they're doing kind of the same thing. They've been really doing it well in the Philippines. And I would also say, yeah, to your point, Jeremy, we are really the only ones focused on solving those problems. I just did an anecdote. I went to a blockchain meetup that's local to my city that's not the BTC meetup, because such a thing exists now here, which is great. It's sponsored by an organization called Stand with Crypto, and just went to a local restaurant and they had free food and drinks, just like all of the other, they called it trad crypto, which is a lot of what I experienced in the conference circuit as well, where just you go to these after parties and they just have an open bar and like free food. And I'm just like, what? All you have to do is know somebody and you just get in here, like, wow, crazy. Yeah, so like none of that is in BCH, obviously. We got to bridge that gap somehow, but it's so hard because the rest of the ecosystem doesn't care about the things that we care about. Every single time that I go anywhere, I feel like such an outlier. It's kind of crazy.
What about Cash Fusion? That's got to be one of our most requested features ever, I would say. Ryan has been asking for it, I know, for multiple years, but we might be actually able to deliver it soon. Where's that at?
Cash Fusion is it's fully developed. It's pending me testing the full implementation, but it actually gets fusions. We got to integrate it a little more. We just have the back and forth, none of the UI stuff yet. So that's where it's at. That's why we're estimating Q1, because balancing everything else. And I'm sure we're going to run into a couple more issues, like with getting it to work as a background task nicely, or how we're going to present that, because we have restrictions on mobile. That's kind of why Cash Fusion doesn't really exist on mobile. And you have like what DashPay Wallet and Stack Wallet do it, but you know, you have to leave the wallet open and whatnot. So it's how are we going to solve that? Going to look into it, but we can get fusions. That's as far as we are. We have fusion on mobile, and it's good so far. So we're going to get there. But yeah, we're really excited to get that out too.
That's big. I mean, I think
it is pretty big.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I mean, Selene's such a popular wallet, and if it has that, you know, I know Stack has a feature like that, but I think that would drive your users up. I know you guys map that chart and all that. That would, like I said, you guys are, you know, so popular already, and there's probably other people going other places for that. That's huge to hear. Q1, that's almost here, so that's pretty exciting.
I mean, don't get too excited. Like a target is Q1, but definitely the first version will probably be pretty basic. There's going to be maybe Android only, probably not on iOS. Maybe it'll be like you'll have to keep your phone open on your desk, while you're watching it to get fusions or something. I don't know. Probably also the UI is not going to be super slick. Like I would love, even in Electron Cash Desktop, how you can split down into fused and unfused coins. Obviously, we'll want to do that, but I don't know if it'll be in the first version. It would also be awesome if it can then track that, and then you can set, thresholds. Like I only want coins that have been fused a minimum of 3 or 5 times. Would also be awesome. Maybe if there was some way that we could give an estimate of how long a fusion is likely to take. Like I don't know anybody who's tracking this, but maybe if we had a way of like you could just run a service now publicly that looked at the blockchain and looked when the fusions were happening and tried to guess or figure out how long it takes on average, to hit a fusion. Like there's all kinds of stuff that we would love to do. So the first version is going to be pretty basic, and we even thought about maybe releasing it as a whole separate wallet, because the code is so heavy duty that it kind of cuts into our mantra of being like 5 or 10 megabytes that people can download in Venezuela without any problems. So it's and we haven't 100% figured that out, but it's possible we might even have a separate Selene Advanced or something for that. I don't know. Kallisti, jump in.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that. Yeah, we might have to do it as a separate app, just because it's probably going to inflate the payload quite a bit. We're pulling in like a whole separate implementation of the crypto stuff in C++ to make it work. So because like we had to write native code for it instead of just like straight JavaScript, because we got to get the Tor circuits to work, and doing Tor was kind of one of the major hurdles there. So once we solved that, you know, it was a lot smoother. But yeah, it's just adding a lot to the size, like you said. So we do want to make sure that it's like really quick to download. I mean, most people that you onboard aren't going to need Cache Fusion right away. As much as I would love to like have everything be like as private as possible by default, you know, there's that trade-off. So if you want to specifically, you know, some of your friend that you're onboarding, you know, is specifically privacy conscious, maybe just point them to the version that has Cache Fusion.
Or maybe there'll be a way that we can have it that you can download the extra files in the background somehow, or once you've loaded up the app, if you want to opt into that, you can add it at the cost of the extra storage or whatever. We'll definitely try and make it the best, you know, implementation we can, but it's going to be
we'll always iterate
like
too,
everything.
right?
Yeah. It's going to start out basic.
Love to just jump in there and just say, like I love to see Cache Fusion, by the way. I think that this is a great implementation. Privacy is super important, and the thing is that I just disagree the notion that people don't care about privacy. It's just they're not aware of it. But if someone was to send some transaction and then all of a sudden someone realized, oh, I see how much BCH you've got, they're going to be shocked, and they're going to find that they're not going to expect that. So I really hope
that's not as much of an issue though, because of HD Wallet. You know, we're not reusing addresses by default. Every send and receive gets unique receive and chain.
Yeah, sure. But you know, when you send some money, one of those addresses, you know, maybe you've got 10 BCH, whatever it is, and then they'll see, oh, okay, you know, the change address gets 9.5 BC back. That's your address, right? You know, and you can see that. So with Cache Fusion, you know, generally you don't. The end result is you have lots of little coins, and then when you make a transaction, no one's seeing like some big number. So I think that, you know, and you don't see where it's coming from as well, which is, so I think that Cache Fusion and privacy will end up being kind of has to be the default in wallets once we've actually got people using it. So I'm really looking forward to see how you guys solve that. Maybe it's with two solves, but I like Jeremy's idea of maybe having that as a download as an added plug-in, so that you still got that download speed in the low internet speed countries.
Right, and in the long term, we do want to have the wallet be like kind of more extensible and customizable, and that's kind of where we're going with the Explore tab stuff too. We want to be able to like, you know, those content cards that we had that have the stats, and we had Blaze and Bliss showing up. Okay, nobody's like told us that that's horrible, and that's great. I love that we're in that direction so far. So there's actually been like positive feedback on like the stats, no feedback at all on the Bliss Blaze stuff, other than sorry that I broke the thing again, but it's on like one of the lesser critical parts of the app, right? Okay, so you just hit that tab, just don't hit that tab for a week while I fix it, right? So, you know, we're gonna get in there where it's more stable. Okay, testing and whatnot is also like a huge priority for me right now. Like getting that stable infrastructure so those things don't happen anymore. But it's also at the same time, like some things are actually time bound too, where okay, we have to ship things like I don't want to give any spoilers, so I'm not going to do that. That's not in my domain.
Yes, but we're working on it, and I wonder if you can say quickly about the stats. I didn't say it at the start of the episode like I usually do, but 24-hour Selene, 99 users, 7 days, 301, 30 days, 612, which is up a little bit, and then the 1 year we're looking good at 3,456, which is a solid upwards kind of exponential line, it looks like, over the previous year. So how are you feeling about sort of the Selene growth and where that is going to be going in the next year or two?
I'm hoping that we can at least 2x every year, because I mean that's the exponential curve we were talking about, and we're like not quite there, right? Okay, so if we go all of 2024 is July, so we have to measure July to July, not January to January. So if by next July, or this upcoming July rather, we're at 4K, which seems reasonable, we're at 3.3 right now, 3.4 almost, then we will be on that 2x trajectory, and that seems like a reasonable scaling curve for a tech product, because I mean we just got to think about it. Okay, if I onboard somebody and then they onboard, you know, 2 people or whatever, I onboard 2 people, how does that work, right? Then that's exponential growth by itself. And we already know that there's a lot of interest in BCH coming in outside of just people onboarding to Selene. So there's going to be more independent people who are going to go start their 2 people. And I think that maybe after 2026, maybe by 27 or 28, maybe we can get 4x in a year from already, like, we're at 2, 4, 8. So let's say by end of 2026, we're at 8K, right? Almost maybe 10K. And then, we 4x from there. That actually seems kind of reasonable.
Yeah. I've just noticed that we don't have the line to 10 million anymore. You obviously snuck that out.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, let's look at this empty bar for years. I want to actually make this graph like a little more interactive. Like, I want to be able to zoom in and out and stuff. Because now that we're always just sitting at this high, the graph just like doesn't move, and so it's like less exciting.
Yeah.
So I want to add a little more context.
Yeah, maybe make the milestones, break that down, because it's people love seeing milestones be.
Oh, that would be really cool. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Orders of magnitude. Yeah.
I can feel that I've been way too many Teams meetings. I'm just keep on going for the emoticon button to like give some claps and stuff to everything you're saying, because it's so awesome, Kallisti. So maybe I have to do it just physically. Yeah, I love all the stuff you're doing on Selene. It's wicked.
We're getting there. All right. Okay. And Fiendish, time for your little intro. BCH advocate and business development. You've been a little quieter in 2025, not because you haven't been working hard, but I think you've decided to maybe shift a bit of it into the background, a bit of behind the scenes. In fact, we're seeing some payoff with that we might be able to mention in a moment. But for people who haven't been hearing from you, how you've been doing? How's 2025 been?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Merry Christmas, everyone. I hope everyone's already in the season's feelings right now. So yeah, 2025 has been just a great year. So you said at the start, you said it's been like the best year for BCH in 2024. So I'm quite convinced in the conversations that we've had when we look at the state of the ecosystem since Cash Tokens was launched in 2023. It's been the best year every year. And that's great, right? That's what you want. That's what we need for a growing ecosystem. And it's absolutely the case for this year in Bitcoin Cash. So I've never felt as confident about Bitcoin Cash as I do this year. And then seeing, everything that's been going on. And with myself, so it's interesting. So I with the little quieter in 2025, this is kind of a testament to the success that I'm having, and also the kind of success, because my 2025 for me was actually the year that I have spent more hours, more time dedicated to Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Cash stakeholders, the entire ecosystem, and trying to prop that up. So, and it's really interesting because I did some work in the past with Fiendish and Friends and with the Bitcoin Cash Hangout, and a lot of stuff that was aimed, I guess, primarily at the ecosystem. And I think that this is something that maybe Bitcoin Cash is we do quite a lot of, or we have done a lot of in the past, is a sort of preaching to the converted, preaching to the choir. Oops. And then, so my goal was to actually spend more time looking outwards, spend more time on the periphery. There's a lot of companies out there that have Bitcoin Cash integrated, but they don't have any involvement with the ecosystem. So we're spending a lot of time there, reaching out, building networks, building relationships, trying to get them more invested into Bitcoin Cash, or even getting stakeholders who haven't had Bitcoin Cash and weren't accepting that. And so you're spending a lot of time there. So recent successes we've seen there, Aeon, Alchemy Pay, they've integrated Bitcoin Cash. We also had Near Protocols accepting Bitcoin Cash and integrating that. This is really great and great movements. And yeah, and one of the things that, so some of you might be already aware of, so I've been working very tightly with Bitcoin Cash OG. So this is the Twitter account. And this is really to assist Bitcoin Cash marketing and social media. So today, Twitter is where almost all of the crypto promotions and crypto users spend their time. So it's really streets ahead of anywhere else. So every dollar that's sort of spent there is going to get the best return of investment. And we've seen a great move there. So with Bitcoin Cash OG, so this Bitcoin Cash Twitter account is got up to just under 7,000 followers now, and the engagements are just going exponentially up, which is great because and it's an important thing. So Bitcoin Cash, there's no official website, there's no official foundation, there's no official Twitter account. And everyone in the ecosystem knows that and knows why that's so important, which is great. But the thing is what I realized was, or what I thought was, well, for those all the people out there in the world that they hear something about Bitcoin Cash, very often you get a bulletin and it might be Bitcoin, and Bitcoin account will be tagged, or Litecoin, the Litecoin account will be tagged. And when it comes to Bitcoin Cash, there was nothing. And so people on Twitter could just click on the username, and all of a sudden they can follow that account and be surrounded by all of the exciting stuff that's going on in that community. So I think that's something I've been putting a lot of support into and helping that with Bitcoin Cash OG to make that a real success. And we're seeing some good traction there, which is good. Also, sorry, you want to?
No, that's brilliant. I mean, I'm just saying, I think that's a great example of how the community adapts over time, because while you were talking about getting the information out to people who are not as down the rabbit hole, of course, they're going to need a different source of information. Like, for instance, with the podcast, I'm very conscious of the fact that in a way it's not the best representation of Bitcoin Cash, because I'm in there like trolling people, like mocking people, like stirring up shit, etc. And you need to have some of that in the ecosystem. So it's like, not that we shouldn't have that or we can't have that, but that's just one element, right? And you can't mix that together necessarily with everything else, because it doesn't come off as cohesive. And one of the things we've done this year as well has been the BCH bullet that we've started doing weekly, and that also is a similar concept of just having the information in a more digestible format to people who are not paying attention all the time, etc. And that's helping to get the information to people sort of at the edge of the ecosystem, which is, of course, where the most growth happens, powered by people inside the ecosystem doing exciting stuff that brings them in. So it makes sense to me that this is kind of the direction BCH is growing, as it starts to kind of find its footing, and we don't have to look inwards so much to argue and fight like in the past, or even to discuss internal upgrades and stuff like that. Is all so well mapped out and planned out for the future that the community has energy and focus to put on, okay, how do we put on a good front to the outside world as well? Is that kind of the approach here, I guess?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And the BCH bullet, this is really a great addition to the ecosystem. Checking that out on, I know you released it on the Sunday, but for me, that's my Monday read. It's the way to kickstart off the week. It's all really helping. It helps the growth. It gets people on the edge, much more information in a way that's neutral. And in the case of Bitcoin Cash OG, it's generally is a positive vibe, very neutral, and it allows people just to be excited or get involved, even if they don't know anything about this, and that's really great. I've also been quite on some different spaces under so the talking as Bitcoin Cash. And that's been very interesting. So I've been on one of the ones, I think one of the recent ones which sort of led to the near protocols integration was Zipto. Spent some time there with the CEO of that app, trying to get some integrations with Bitcoin Cash there. So still got some work to do, but we can see that there's some fruits there. And Bitcoin Cash for sure has more integrations with more products, more services, more apps than before, which, the more roads going in, the more roads going out, the more utility, it's all good. So, there's also some other work. So some work I can talk about, some work that I can't. So I'm working with various stakeholders in Bitcoin Cash, really helping them to grow their app, their product, their market base or assisting with things. One of the things that I'm enjoying, I will be enjoying, is BCH Bliss 2026. And I'll certainly be, working a bit with organizing and helping with that, and already have been reaching out to try and create a bit more sponsorship for this amazing conference, because the feedback is really, really thick and unanimous. It's one of the most important things for Bitcoin Cash, the community, getting all the builders together. So of course, if we can get a little bit more sponsorship and allow that to grow, we can help get that snowball effect and get more and more builders joining in. So yeah, it's been a busy year, and I'm kind of glad that a lot of that hasn't been noticed directly linked to me. But at the same time, I get my reward by seeing the ecosystem move forward and grow, and more implementations of Bitcoin Cash and it being used more. So I'm happy with that.
No, that's amazing. And like you said, maybe you can't talk about everything that is going on behind the scenes, but I wonder if you can give us maybe some general trends or themes or something that you've noticed in doing that work. Like you said, that you've been very involved in BCH for a long time at this point, but perhaps being even more involved or taking a different angle to how you're looking at the ecosystem. Has there been anything that you've uncovered there that you maybe want to talk about in general terms?
Yeah, Bitcoin's greatest strength, which we need to protect, which is decentralization, no kings, no foundations. Like that needs to be protected, but it comes with its caveats, and they also need to be compensated. And that is almost all companies that I reach out to that accept Bitcoin Cash, that use Bitcoin Cash on their platform or are looking to, they don't get it. And the very first thing that they want is, we want to speak to the official person. We want to have our logos on the official Bitcoin Cash website. And so what I've been sort of working is there is almost like a customer success manager role of, first of all, explaining the ecosystem. Like, just like the internet, there's no official head of the internet. There's no foundation of the internet. It's a protocol that everyone can use. And that's the same with Bitcoin Cash. And I'm just a person that can help and guide them. But is to also say, listen, if you have any needs, come to me. I'm going to help you. I'll pair you up with the right person. And that is something that is any company, your companies that are dealing with lots of different blockchains, you want to have that one point of contact. You want to have that one point of contact that can help you get to the right person, that can deal with your challenges, and so that's something I've really seen. That it's like, wow, that's a role that's been missing in Bitcoin Cash, and it's a role that's super important if we want more and more services to integrate with Bitcoin Cash, or upgrade to the latest address system, for example, like these small things. Then someone has to drive that. Someone has to be behind that. It won't happen naturally unless they're absolutely forced to, through huge user adoption. But what comes first? And so it's a chicken and the egg situation. So if we can move all things together at once, when we get to that mass user adoption quicker. So that role is kind of interesting for me. There's a lot of education that I do, a lot of education that's needed. People don't get Bitcoin Cash, and what's really surprising, we are the number 11 right now in market cap, and that's when you take into account tokens. Remove tokens, I think we're the number 7, and that's out of like how many cryptos? 30,000, 40,000, who knows, right? And yet people know very little about Bitcoin Cash. This is one thing that it's been quite shocking to me. Very little. Some people that have accepted chains that are well below us on the market cap, they haven't even wow, Bitcoin Cash, what is that? Like, it's not about not knowing about us, not even the name or the brand. So that's really interesting to me. So marketing is definitely something that Bitcoin Cash has. A great product. It has great apps. The price is amazing, so there's a lot of belief in it. But probably a little bit more marketing and education is going to be a good thing.
Yeah, and I think maybe in the past the community has been a little bit hard to, harsh on that from the point of view of everyone quickly panics about, is this centralized, or and so forth, right? So people need to understand exactly. It's kind of a someone problem. Like, at the end of the day, someone has to do it. And decentralized does not mean disorganized, right? Just because
Right.
if you're providing that point of contact to people, that's so helpful and reassuring. And if you can show that as a viable role in the ecosystem, then of course other people will also pick that up and they will do it in other ways, maybe for different languages or different communities that they can speak to, right?
Exactly.
And then it will become a whole network, probably eventually. I mean, it already is a network, but it'll be even more of a network where there'll be groups and channels that will start to circulate information internally, the same way that the wallet ecosystem has kind of informally, but I'm hoping we can improve on that a little bit, which is that behind the scene, of course, I know all the guys that do the other wallets, and when there's like security alerts and things like that that come up, it all just travels around the ecosystem quietly in the background. And I think we need to get to that same level of sort of sophistication for customer support and outreach, like you said.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things is, going back to the point you made there about decentralization doesn't mean disorganization. I also think that there has been a lack of understanding of what decentralized means, because we don't like centralization, right? But you can create a centralized company. Anyone can create and as we have, right? That's your company, and then your company can be working on behalf of a network. And just as you mentioned there, with different languages in different countries, there's going to be, in a decentralized network, there isn't any official foundation. Anyone can do that, and anyone kind of should do that. That's the beauty in it. So if you are, in Latin America or wherever you are, I certainly can't speak Spanish, and there's going to be lots of places where they're going to love it if you can speak Spanish. Then be a rep for BCH. Don't ask for any permission. Set up your organization. You're the CEO. You're the king of your organization, and you get to drive that little centralized entity as a part of a wider decentralized Bitcoin Cash. But please, my advice is, and I really never say that you're an official representative to Bitcoin Cash. That's a critical part of the education. And you can, when I speak to stakeholders, mentioning the internet is a great thing. It's like, no, or if you want to look into gold, like, no, there's no official foundation of gold. It's just there. It's just something you use. Bitcoin Cash is the same.
Yes, and so anybody who's interested in trying that out, I'm sure, can also reach out to you if they want to get any tips on how they can also get started in their own niche. And I'm sure that will also build a bit of collaborating. Okay,
Absolutely.
we've got to hit a little bit of the news as well. I've got 2 slides here and a graph. We'll just kind of combine them. BCH is hitting hash rate all-time highs. So that kind of came up recently, which was quite interesting to me. Ever since the split, BCH is now at the highest hash rate it's ever been. Now, of course, there's 2 contributing factors to that. One is that our price has been going up, and more price means more hash rate. But also at the same time, ASICs are getting more efficient over time, and there's also more of them in the world deployed total. So as a result of that, those 2 factors combined, so we're not at the most secure we have ever been, which would be having the greatest amount of proof of work and having the greatest percentage of the total SHA-256 hash rate. So it's important to separate those 2 things. But nevertheless, it shows that BCH is on the up and up. And for so many years, we've had sort of FUD to deal with about BCH is insecure and, what if the miners attack it and etc. Like, the longer it lasts, the more people kind of get the idea that maybe that's not the problem that they expected or that they were told it is. But regardless, it's a huge sign of success in the ecosystem. And I have a graph here of the BCH versus the BTC hash rate, just to keep things a little bit in perspective, because it's nice to think, oh, we're at all-time highs, but at the same time, you kind of see that sort of graph. It really brings you back down to earth.
That's a depressing graph. Why are you showing that? It's Christmas.
Yes. Okay. Back to the all-time high. Back to the all-time high. No. And just some other news as well that we can throw out there for everybody to maybe quickly comment on. We don't have to do too much topical stuff, but a little bit. One is the near intense integration that you mentioned there, Fiendish. It was funny. A couple of people said, "Oh, wow, isn't this coincidental? BCH is going up, and suddenly all these people are like jumping on board." And it's not coincidental. Actually, it's the result of hard work behind the scenes, and then those 2 things play into each other. So then the price is going up, and then they feel like, oh, we're making the right choice, and then they probably are more excited to get their integration out faster, and all these things play together. But I think we're increasingly going to see quote unquote coincidences, which it seems like from the outside, but are actually being driven behind the scenes by the BCH community working hard and staying focused. And it's important that we stay aware of, where's the driving factor for that. We've also had Paytaka previewing some wallet upgrades with a Cauldron DEX integration and more cash tokens. And BCH One have announced their phase 2 booster Fund Me campaign to extend their Hackcelerator initiative for next year. So maybe starting with you, Fiendish, because we're already on this topic a little bit, but is there anything from that news or recent affairs that you want to hit on and discuss a bit more?
Yeah, sure. So one of the, it's not always possible to know exactly the entire chain, but I'm pretty sure that Joe Parkin, so the co-founder of Zipto, is very largely also responsible for the near intents. He's the one that introduced me to the team, but I had several video meetings with him after being on some spaces. And I think this is just a great reminder that going out there and talking to people and not being aggressive and talking in good faith. And Joe Parkin is someone that really believes in decentralized cash and is basically he's a BCHer at heart, even if he wasn't quite aware of what Bitcoin Cash was when I first started talking to him. But for sure, I think he was a very important player in that. But so a lot of this stuff happens because of talking. So for everyone out there, talk in good faith and be awesome people. But yeah, I think everything that's on here is sort of, it's just gravy. It's just, there's some icing on the cake of a great year of what's going on in the Bitcoin Cash ecosystem.
Yeah, the work never stops. Kallisti, any thoughts, maybe especially around the Paytaka stuff? Of course, we're always keeping an eye on what they're up to, and them with us, I'm sure it's a bit of friendly competition. So Cauldron DEX integration, what are we doing on that front?
So again, if you're in experimental mode, if you click around enough, you can also find our janky experimental Cauldron DEX debugging tool that I was using for the stablecoin mode, which we're going to polish into a full-fledged Cauldron interface. So that's going to be just what you see on the basic swap view of the Cauldron.quest website. We're just going to have like a similar thing right inside Selene, so you can just swap any token that you have. Or I guess you could probably also pull their list and like swap into any token that you want, really. Just a simple thing. So we'll have that. We can just have quick swap and stake buttons right there on our assets interface. I think that people will like that. And I think those features can easily grow into kind of a suite of tools that I'm kind of coining this term debanking, right? Decentralized banking, because, we're going to want to do things like savings vaults and like time locks and, having spend thresholds and like all of these different kind of things that we can enforce via smart contract. And the wallets are going to have to be aware of that. Shout outs to Exostack and general protocols. We're really looking forward to integrating with that to kind of implementing some of those ideas as well. So yeah, it is kind of a friendly competition with Paytaka. They're doing great work. I always love highlighting them. I think that all of the different wallets that are out there for BCH are really kind of filling various roles very well. I think we have a well-balanced wallet ecosystem right now, and it's like pretty cool. I mean, it's all a friendly competition, but that's also my favorite thing about BCH is that most competition ends up just being collaborative by nature because all efforts to increase the network effect benefit all of us. So yeah.
Ryan, do you have any thoughts about any of these news items? I think Fiendish kind of hit on it in that I was preparing the slides and just thinking, we don't need to have a slide here. Like there's so much to talk about. There's been so much good work, but I also can't not mention it because another week has gone by. More things are happening in the ecosystem. Like it never stops.
Jeremy, you hit the nail on the head by saying that, it's going to seem like coincidences, but like, I see two things just kind of colliding. A narrative collapse of a BTC, and then like, holy cow, this whole infrastructure of tools. And I really feel like, we're on this ground floor of like the future financial system. And we have probably the 7th or 11th largest market cap, and yet nobody knows. But like, you're seeing fascinating things happen. Like, I don't know, that one fund that was going to put like $500 million into Bitcoin Cash We saw Cauldron get a large VC funding. Internally, there's solid funding. And you mix all that together and all this growth. And as Fiendish mentioned, ever since Cash tokens came out, like the innovations will continue to compound. And what we have today is going to look like, so I love it, but it's going to look so janky when the world starts using it, and you have people in ties and this, that, offering features, and like they're going to come back and watch a video like this, a few guys on early on a Sunday morning talking about the future of finance. It's really grassroots. It's cypherpunk, and I love it. We are building the future, and there's going to be so many people that just are like, when you're not deep rooted in it, it's like I didn't realize all this was happening. And because we're pretty big but still unnoticed, it's like such an odd place to be. And I think it's because of outside manipulation to make sure. But like, I think last year I was rewatching the episode in preparation for today, but Kallisti was talking about the Streisand effect, and the more you try to suppress the truth, the bigger it is. When you can combine that with all the innovations going on and all the talent and development, and I also feel like BCH is just like this lean startup. Like we have minimum amount of resources to use, and just making sure that those resources are used efficiently, creating growth. And all of us, like, look at everything Fiendish is doing that he just talked about, all this effort and being a hub to just help people, and everything that Celine team's doing, and to integrate, and like Jet, 5 years on the show here, making sure we have clean content. It's all like, where we're at today with the best year I think BCH has ever had. I'm blown away by it. And I used to be always like BCH, but open-minded to like multi-coin, like like I always like the privacy sector and all that. But just seeing like BCH be what BTC should have been, is just taking, observing the markets and be like, okay, that'd be nice to have. DeFi would be nice to have. Okay, privacy, nice to have. Grab that. Then eventually, there's no reason to go anywhere else. And holy cow, this is the real Bitcoin that wasn't a psyop by Jeffrey Epstein. Like it's like it's one of, like, how could you not have higher conviction in that? Like so I'm becoming less multi-coiner over the years. Even though I'm always like BCH, I think you use the term a lot, Jeremy, BCH maximalist. The word maximalist has been so tainted in my mind. Like I kind of hate the word, but I'm becoming more one coiner. If you
BCH Dragon Rider is what
you're the Dragon Rider. Shout out to the Dragon Riders in the House of the Dragon.
Like, why do you have to go anywhere else? There's going to be no reason to go anywhere else. And shout out to the Zcash team. They had a great team. They had a great year. But BCH is we're on to something, and if more people are realizing it, that's what you're seeing here.
Do you know what you say? We're on it, and there's something you said earlier that I just fact checked, and it's really interesting. So MF International, I think most people are aware of this. They're investing a large part of their 500 million USD into Bitcoin Cash. I did some fact checking on this, and they registered with the SEC, Nasdaq. Because they're raising the money through shares, and that's why they had to basically show exactly what they're doing, show their cards. They haven't actually started buying Bitcoin Cash yet, so they've acquired the money.
We're early.
And the purchasing, I thought that the recent price increase was due to that. So hell yeah, strap in, guys.
They're already down like 20%. They're already losing money by the day. The longer it takes them to buy in a certain sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, we'll
what's
really know
what's daily liquidity at. I'm curious what that'll do. How much BCH they could actually buy in a day of that 500 million without really.
But the thing is, there's different ways to buy it. They could either over the counter, and then it doesn't even hit the exchanges, so you wouldn't even notice it. And the other way is I would assume they're not doing it like this, but they could, is to mine it, and that might also explain an uptick in mining.
Yeah, they could also have, even if they don't mine it themselves, they can do a contract with the miner for a fixed price into the future, and then slowly stack it up over 5 or 10 years or whatever. And if they have a locked in price, then that's okay.
Exactly.
Those maltas might get a bit salty if the price starts rocketing up, but that's the deal that they have to do.
If they've made a deal, because if they know, because if they were to buy, if it was a full 500 million, it basically was about 1 million Bitcoin Cash. If you just do the maths there, if you actually try to buy that, the price is going to go crazy. So they might have actually offered quite an attractive price that was quite above the market price to miners for the coin. And then all of a sudden, the whole narrative makes a lot of sense why you would see an increase of the hash rate before the price, just as a theory.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, I think the idea of them doing some OTC deals, I'm sure they'll be looking into that, and there'll be some of that. But I also can't imagine that there's $500 million of BCH whales sitting around thinking, oh, let me just like maybe a few million here or there. What's a few million between friends? But in terms of like hundreds of millions of dollars, how are you going to dig up the people who have the BCH, who bought it at such conviction, somewhere in the $100 to $500 range, and or have held it since the split and are going to want to give it away to somebody who's telling them that they want to buy $500 million of BCH? Like, it's the worst sales pitch ever to get them to hand over the coins,
Yeah. Does it say anything about their motivation or their bullishness? Like obviously they want to put that 500 million in to get a lot more back, right? So that what's their optimism? What's their plan? Or do we know who these actors exactly are? Hopefully they're good actors,
It's an investment fund, and when you do because they're registered on Nasdaq, they've also got the Nasdaq rating them about where they're going to be, and they were basically rated. The share price was going to be doubling over the next year. So with a bit of pinch of salt. So what the assumption is then, if most of their holdings are coming from Bitcoin Cash, what's going to be happening with the price there? But other than that, you know, at the end of the day, someone's buying Bitcoin Cash. If they're bad actors, okay, fine, push up the price, tank it afterwards. But all in all, I think if anyone out there is smart and sees what's going on, then more Bitcoin Cash will end up, and I hope so, in people who really support Bitcoin Cash. And the more people, if the price goes up, hey guys, it's time just to go shopping. Go and buy that new computer or graphics card or whatever it is you want.
Yeah, well, the one bit of info that we did have was that the change seems to have been either prompted by or related to a change in the CEO at this MFI International, which was one of the guys who was the co-founder, I believe, can't remember his name, Dawei Yuan or something like that, from Huobi, which was one of the Chinese exchanges, long-time Chinese exchange. And he then, through his own path in life, had ended up getting put in as the CEO of MFI International. So maybe revenge of the big blockers, whatever, the big blockers strike back, is beginning. That episode where he has been, in the mining game or in exchanges or whatever's going on over in China, and then has found himself at the helm of a fat stack of cash and decided, BCH is still there. Like, let's kind of make that like, I think it's incredible, actually, in the release that they did, that they said, we're going to acquire Bitcoin Cash and various cryptocurrencies. And they left it at that. They did not mention one other coin. It was only BCH. So maybe not all the money will go into BCH, but they certainly seem favorable to it.
And I'm not saying like this is like the right way to do it, right? The right way to grow BCH is what we're doing here, the tooling, the adoption, the infrastructure. But like from a speculative nature from the outside, like if you have large amounts of capital and you want large amounts of return, I'm not a fan at all of Michael Saylor, but one day he has this chart of everywhere he bought BTC at, and said like all the orange dots. He's like, maybe we should add some green dots to this. And I don't think he meant BCH, but like if you're Michael Saylor and you're trying to move and make money, and yeah, I think he's running just a large scale Ponzi scheme, but like he'll buy like billions of dollars of BTC and it goes down. Like if you have large amounts of capital and you believe in the mission, right, and a good actor, I don't think Saylor's a good actor, but like you believe in this, like a lot of people could move the price in the world of BCH if they believe in the mission, see the talent we have here, and maybe this is that group that wants to move the price and reward everyone who's built the infrastructure and believes in a different narrative of what Bitcoin is.
Yeah, well, Saylor, he was talking about the fact that they started doing USD buys, like they opened their new USD reserve Bitcoin was or BTC was the best, the best coin for them to do reserves in until suddenly, well, we also need a USD reserve, and he has this whole scam narrative as per usual about powering this battery, that BTC is this battery that's going to produce them economic returns, and they need the USD reserve to feed into the battery. And like, this is all it's like nonsense, but anyway, you know, people believe it. I said on Twitter it was kind of like those romance scams for women. It's like, oh, Brad Pitt is messaging you in your tiny little town and he wants to take you out on his $1 million jet or whatever. It's like the same thing for crypto anon TradFi bros or whatever. Is like, Michael Saylor's got his rocket ship reserve battery and he's feeding one thing into the other, and it's so smart that you can't understand it, but he's going to make you rich. Like, it's the romance scam for men going on there. So just
but like, yeah, I get upset. I get upset if I buy like $500 of BCH and it goes down like 8%. This guy drops billions and it'll drop. I mean, like, like, you can only find so many rich people to buy it, right? Eventually you need users and tools. It's so stupid. But anyways, that's another conversation.
Yes, let's get on then to talking about 2025 and the biggest stories, starting quickly with a recap from last year. So just to remind everyone, every year I do what is just my subjective 3 biggest stories in BCH and crypto, and it's always very interesting to look back at the previous year, what was the biggest stories, and then what was the biggest stories this year, right? So from last year, the 2024 stories we had was number 1, Roger and hijacking Bitcoin. Number 2, BCH, the best year ever in 2024, which we've already mentioned. So this seems like that's a bit of a recurring theme. And the 3rd biggest story last year, 2024, was the crypto industry confused as everybody tried to figure out what was going on in crypto, meme coins, celebrity promotion deals, incoming CBDC resistance. Like, what are we actually doing here? So just quickly, I don't know if anybody seeing this slide and thinking back to last year, if any of them is ringing a bell in terms of like, wow, in hindsight, that was a lot more important than I thought, or maybe it was less important. Maybe things have moved on. Just, you know, hindsight is 2020, as they say. How did these ones age, Kallisti?
The third one for me, crypto industry is confused. When I was reviewing last year's stream, that was one that stuck out with me because when I was yapping earlier at the beginning of this stream, and I was mentioning that blockchain meetup I went to in the conference circuit, that's still the vibe that I'm getting today. Literally yesterday when I went to this meetup, or I guess I was on Thursday, actually 2 days ago. So like Web3 is still confused, but that's where all of the capital is. Now, I guess as of the past 30 days, maybe 60, we have obviously been seeing that steady inflow. It's been maybe a little longer, but it's more obvious over the past 60 days, I would say. So maybe that confusion is coming to an end, and I guess there's more to touch on with that, but I know that we've got other slides for it. So I think that's just my initial thought, is crypto industry confused prevails until BCH takes over.
Yeah, Kallisti, you mentioned like when you go to these meetups, you feel like an outlier. It's because I think they're all confused. Like, what is this crypto thing? We'll make money, you know, like they don't, you know, understand the original mission and what we're trying to accomplish, or maybe it's veered off. Like I feel like people just see it as like a way to make money rather than a way to change the world, you know. And it's much bigger than just making a quick buck. Like, this is, you know, hopefully the future of humanity, you know. It's much bigger, you know, than a meme coin, a celebrity promotion deal. But definitely, you know, not to jump into 2025 too much, but privacy seemed like it had a pretty winning year. And I would throw in, obviously, the direction of BCH moving that way with the upgrades and the ability to do those things. And what I'm hearing today, what's going on with Selene, it definitely sounds like we're underneath heading in the right direction. But yeah, the hit of these other things, I think the hijacking is pretty well aware in most circles. You know, even when I feel like the Twitter chatter is like, so like it's like, it used to be like toxic, you know, 5 years ago we started doing this. Like, You want to talk about BCH, it's automatically attacked. Now, like when someone tries to attack BCH, they just get ratioed in the comments. Like things are so different now and so much better. And like that, I was jumping on a video talking about like the psychological operation. They're like these odd accounts that'll try to attack BCH, then they get ratioed. Then I'll go back and try to look at it, and it's just deleted. Like and like the account was like, and then the account's like deleted. Like there's something so weird that we've had to live through, and I can't.
BCH has respect.
Oh, dude.
BCH had no respect. When I started in 2021, 2022, BCH was the butt of the joke. And it was that in 2023. It was that in 2024. It was improving in 2024, but 2024, BCH was still an embarrassing ecosystem on like just you're part of BCH. Just in 2025, that has flipped. That has changed so much. And it's one of the points that I wanted to mention a bit later, but I think that the BCH community is responsible for that on multiple levels. So of course, just been building, improving, and that's critical. So I don't want to take away from that, but it's also equally the way that people have been engaging as well in social media. Seeing Jason Dreisner, for example, coming out and just being more active and talking more and intelligent conversations. And it's quite clear that it's like, oh, okay, this community they're not just passionate like diehards about sound money for the world. They're actually pretty smart, and we should be listening to them. And so Bitcoin Cash, you can say like I'm part of Bitcoin Cash right now, and it's like we're now part of the successful underdog story. People are rooting for us. They may not think we're going to win, but they want us to win. That's a real change.
I hear you in that, Fiendish. When I see a Dreisner tweet or Kallisti and guys, I'm like, wow, the intellectual capital is here. Like it's all just noise everywhere else. Like, yeah, we may not be as big in numbers, but like the intellectual capital, the mission, yes, the sound money and all that, but yeah, it bleeds through the upgrades, right? And it's becoming undeniable. And I think it's is Moonsettler finally like a BCH guy? Like I know he participated in Blaze, and he's also like a pretty smart guy. It seems like.
He will be at Bliss 2026.
like
if
seeing
not
like
today.
watching different people and wanting more people to build like, and again they're not coming over in droves yet, but as long as quality comes over. But I guess where's he at? He's coming to Bliss, you said.
I don't know. We'll see about that. Fingers crossed, I guess. But all we can do is try and put on the best event and attract all the talent we can.
I mean, he's got free tickets, right? Because he won.
He does. Yes, he does have a Layla. He's got one of the special edition ones as well too from winning in Blaze. So hopefully he will be there to make use of that in person. I mean, from my point of view, I think it really comes from the building. Obviously, the social media is a big part of it. You have to package things in the right way. But I said on the show at some point, I just said it's kind of like, firing off rockets. Like, okay, people can hate on Elon Musk and say he doesn't know what he's doing, and plenty of people have over the years. But at a certain point, if he's launching the rocket and you can just look at the footage and his rocket is flying and it just lands and it all works, at a certain point, that is just undeniable. Like anybody who is trying to hate on it goes from, I'm such a skeptic and cynical and, oh, this can't work and that can't work, to just like, he has the proof of work. There's the rocket. It works. You're going to need a different explanation, because now the only options are, you're right is out of the question, right? So now it's just down to, do you not understand what he's doing, or are you just salty? Like, you need another explanation for why you're attacking that. And that's the same thing I think is happening in BCH. The change to privacy and quantum have become big in the narratives, and BCH, we can just show, look, here's it. We've been building it. We've got the tools. We've got this stuff that's delivered. And anybody who does look into it discovers that this is all legit. There's no smoke and mirrors. There's nothing, there's no counter threads of like, oh, the BCH guys said that they've done XYZ, but here's an expose of, oh, they skimped on this, or they didn't do this right, or anything like that, which would be the first thing that would come up. And so then you just present that information, and there's no way to counter that, because there is no counter. We've just been doing good work. So obviously the community also has to present it well, which we're doing a good job of, not being reactive, or being reactive in the way of having some fun with them or teasing them or even mocking them and then putting in the information. And for those people who are just getting wrecked because they're just like walking into a hail of bullets unprepared against any of this information, and then they, you know, usually a little bit salty, or at least they shut up. But people watching that from the outside are just like, this is just undeniable. And I think we're kind of getting to that stage. So that's where I feel like our winning edge is, really.
Yeah, and shout out to BCH Autist and the General Protocols team, Jonathan Silverblood, and all those guys over there, and also Kalen. Like we have like some really dangerous weapons that I think are pretty much almost unmatched from other ecosystems.
Yeah, we do genuinely have, you know, the best developers in crypto, partially because to be there, you either needed to be an OG and see the hijacking go down, or you needed to be smart enough to dig through all the nonsense and get to the truth. And that's where the hijacking comes into it. I think one thing that's going to be really interesting is, as people see this sort of the rocket is flying, it's actually linked to the hijacking. And that's what people are slowly having to figure out. Like, it's not possible from a BTC focused view or some other kind of view to look at it and say, okay, these guys have the rocket, it's flying. They have quantum solution rolling out. They have a much better VM. They have this stuff. How do we get that? And if it was possible for them to get that technology without accepting the hijacking and the other stuff that we told them about, then they would just do that. They would just copy the tech and leave behind the sort of craft or the fluff or the social narratives or whatever. So if the hijacking and all that was something we were just telling ourselves, some convenient conspiracy theory, then an outside group would be able to copy that and leave behind the excess, quote unquote, baggage of any falsehoods or anything like that. But it's true. So they can't do that. The only way for any outside community to copy what we're doing is actually to listen to what we're saying. And they can't get, you know, like, to move like a Bcash, you got to think like one, right? So to get the technology and so forth, they have to go back to, how did they do this? Well, they had the chip process. Why did they have the chip process? Because they went through 3 different community splits and they figured out the best way to organize a decentralized community. And why did they have those splits? Well, you know, you can look at the eCash fork, what happened there. You can look at the BSV split, what happened there. Okay, they kicked out these guys, they kicked out those guys. There was problems around governance. There was problems around legal attacks. There was problems around this. Okay, why was there the BTC split? Well, they saw that there was a hijack, and that's happening exactly at the same time as all the Epstein stuff and whatever is coming out. So it just becomes like an unavoidable truth. And I think that's where that's creating Jeremy, that respect.
And Jeremy, to go through all that, like, it's just easier to switch communities. And like, you're never going to get consensus to get all that through. I see all like the Peter Todds and Adam Bax and Bitcoin University guys are all fighting and blocking each other, like, and Sailor, like, it'll never happen in other communities too. Like, I can't speak as much for, I'm just saying from what I see, but easier just to buy some BCH and start building over here and jump on the train and go through all of that, what took us to get here. I didn't copy. It's not as easy as copy and paste the tech. You need consensus and alignment, and this community has it.
Yeah, and that consensus and alignment comes from the vision and the truth, which is like, yeah, that's the things that they really can't copy. And like you say, just it's cycles, you know, a positive, virtuous, and a vicious cycle. In the past, BTC was in a virtuous cycle because the price was going up, everyone was excited, they had the brand, they had all that, and BCH was in a vicious cycle. It was the opposite because it had bad governance, it had infighting, it had all those different elements where things were going wrong. But then now it's flipped around. BTC is in the vicious cycle and we're in the virtuous cycle, and that's just going to be an undeniable combo because they also feed into each other via the hash rate. That's why it's so critical that sometimes people say, oh, maybe BCH should have just split off and changed onto their own algorithm or anything. Like, that would have been the greatest mistake that ever could have been made in BCH. And so I wouldn't be supporting it if we had ever done anything like that, because those two cycles are linked. And as the BCH price goes up, the ratio goes up, the virtuous cycle is on our side. That's also, yeah, sucking away their hash rate and their credibility and also the liquidity we've talked about many times on this show before. Out of the there's 19 million BCH, 3 or 4 million lost in the early days. 1 million Satoshi has, 1 million probably lost in the split with BTC. The other ones, people were a bit more on the ball about it. So out of that, there's maybe 13 or million BCH, maybe kind of free floating somewhere in circulation. Of that, the existing BCH community literally holds all 13 million. And some of them will be sold off and some of them will be traded at higher prices. Of course, people are going to get the benefit of their gains. But essentially, once you understand the path to global reserve currency flippening type of thing that I've explained on this show, you have 19 million, they also have the lost coins and Satoshi's coins. So let's say 14 million. They have 14 million BTC chasing 13 million BCH, of which 1 or 2 million are realistically kind of up for sale without titanic price gains. And by the time those price gains hit, just the information flow is overwhelming. The narrative has to change. People have to look into what BCH is doing, all the building, everyone in BCH gets mega rich, and then we're set up to, dominate on every other, like the BCH community is winning on a fraction of the resources. I had that as well, whatever it is, 0.6%, relatively speaking, of the price, which approximates our clout and our reach. And we're still crushing them. So like at 1-to-1, it's not going to be a fair fight. At even 10-to-1, we're just going to win even harder,
I want to.
I gotta say, Kallisti, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, no. Yeah, so one, we're like floating just under 1% of the total global hash rate, just thinking about something earlier. But what you just mentioned had me thinking about Brian mentioning integrations with like different stuff, and then we went into the near intents later on. And that really the key here, distribution, right? Like you would mention, okay, the BCH community has all of the coins, right? So, but how do we get those outside of the BCH community? Kind of what Fiendish is trying to do, get us out there a little more, right? We got to get, and that's what we're doing with Celine, make it as easy for people to get onboarded, right? So how do we get coins into people's hands so that they can start circulating, they can start getting spent? I try to do things like my roommate, I just got him finally on board. Like he finally like realized, oh man, like I'd really love to have like savings in my lifetime. And I'm like, yeah, man, want some Bitcoin? And he's like, yeah. So he got on and he's happy now because he's getting gains already. And so it's like, okay, we went and got some fast food last night. And it's like, hey, man, you want to cover this? I'll pay you back in BCH. And he's like, yeah. So that's how we can do distribution, right? We can just do a lot of stuff like that. How do we get it into everybody's hands? Same with this crypto meetup I just went to. It's like, okay, let's just get everybody on board at $5 of BCH to get you in, right? But what can you do with it?
What Kallisti is saying right now, that's it. Is paying your friends, paying your family, voluntarily, of course, for like, hey, you get this, I'll give you some BCH. Or if you babysit it or whatever it is, I really think like getting BCH into more people's hands, which is, the idea is you have to find a shop that accepts BCH. No, you don't. There's loads of things that we do where we can give someone BCH and we get something in return that we feel like, hey, this is encouraging us to spend our BCH.
Yeah, exactly. We're the liquidity providers, IRL.
Jeremy, you mentioned one thing, and I gotta say, like, it's been like always that thing in like the back of my mind, and I guess your conviction to keeping the mining algorithm and many other in the community. I think that would be like if there was next fork in BCH, it would be over, giving up the SHA 256 and go to some kind of proof of stake or something like that. It's I feel like it's a ballsy play, but I feel like BCH is that. We're either going to make it or it's either we're number one. If we're not first, we're last. Like we're going for it. Like I think it's taking big balls to keep this road going. And there's even, I've seen comments within the community and like, hey, like if we did this or whatever eCash is doing, Avalanche post consensus, like all this kind of different stuff. And this is and that's why it's encouraging, even though the graph is still what the graph is. That to see that going, but of course we know if we can start winning over price and narrative, and I heard Kallisti say, probably subconsciously, and I've been finding myself too. But like when I talk about Bitcoin Cash, I just say Bitcoin sometimes, more often. Like I just feel like not that really, it's just money at the end. Like I think we're Bitcoin Cash. Like one day we'll just call it cash, you know, like I think this whole narrative of wordplay, but it is Bitcoin is and it's just cash, you know, it's that simple. Like that one
It's like I
good
still call
commercial.
X Twitter, right?
What's that?
I still call X Twitter. Like you have to establish the context first. Like once I say Twitter enough times, and you know that's what I'm talking about. Sometimes X will come out because it's like it's a little shorter sometimes. But okay, I've said BCH over and over. I've said Bitcoin Cash over and over. You know that I'm all in on Bitcoin Cash. So when I say Bitcoin, I probably mean Bitcoin Cash.
No, but I think again when hash flips, it's Bitcoin, right?
That's it. I mean, it's slowly then suddenly as well. That's the thing about that graph, you know, once that's what I was talking about, the flywheels, like it doesn't matter. That hash can keep going up like that for the foreseeable future. That's fine, because once it flips, it will just be like this, and it'll just look like a huge inversion like that. And that's just how anything exponential slowly then suddenly happens. It's the same, you know, in politics in a country. Like one side is just dominantly, you know, more and more and more popular until there's one election where just suddenly everyone is on the other side, because things have just quietly behind the scenes got past a tipping point. People are fed up, and just that's it. It's just over the next day, often to the shock of the people who were deepest in the echo chamber and not seeing the broad perspective of what was happening around them, right? So I think, you know, that's kind of where we're at with that. So let's talk about it then. I've got 3 new storylines, and my number one storyline, which I think we've already been touching on so far in the show, has been BCH starting to shine. That was my 2025 feeling. Like maybe 2024 was the best year so far and then surpassed by 2025, but 2024 was more the community itself beginning to feel itself a little bit, with cash tokens getting rolling, the whole block size thing sorted forever with Abla, you know, Bliss. Like people are starting to feel it. But this year I think it's starting to become noticeable from the outside. So I've got a massive list here: Velma shipping, Layla locked in, including the function stuff, MUSD launched, PUSD is like ready to go, Quantum Root releases the dev promo. We already talked about the promotion and the outreach improving, Blaze V1, XO incoming, MFI, the investment. The block size has started to grow, not a ton, but a little bit. You can see, you know, something starting to happen, whether it's the DeFi, whether it's people being onboarded, whatever's going on. We're just outside that top 10, at which point the legitimacy is just pretty much undeniable. Social media slander is on the way out. Anything but BCH. We had that phrase, you know, and that phase as well has kind of passed. Now we're in BCH versus disbelief. But that seems to be going a lot quicker than anything but BCH, because it's just too easy to just smash people in the comments with that, and they just look so idiotic that there's no comeback. Price speculators and crypto guys starting to notice BCH. The cockroach meme, the longer you live, eventually everyone else is just finished. They can't keep up. It was great to see Moon Settler impressed with the catch VM at Blaze. So we're getting validation that, you know, we've made the right choices and all of that. And I had this quote from Patriot Sounds, who's one of the Thorchain guys that we've been a bit more friendly with. And he said at one point, you know, the BCH community is what the BTC community pretends to be. And the fact that he had just talked to us for an hour or two and had looked a little bit at our stuff, and then that was the impression he was getting, that to me, that just kind of summed it all up. And that's exactly the kind of thing that is going to win converts, right? So Ryan, you're nodding along here. This is it, right? This is the number one story.
Oh man, a lot of it, you know, we kind of talked about leading up to this, so that you can already see the alignment and all that. I got to say, one of my favorite things that was the cockroach memes, the broche thing that happened. Like that was so fun, and I love to see more of that. I didn't see that Patriot Sounds Thorchain thing. I think that's pretty cool. And we talked about Moon Settler before. You know, I didn't see the slides before the show, but it just shows the alignment that the community has built. And yeah, no, it was the best year. I'm probably gonna get roasted later on another year of inaccurate BCH price predictions, but I'm still like over the moon. You know, you know, not to be too crypto, you know, talking about moons, but super happy with this year. It's probably my favorite year of being involved with BCH, at least from just yeah, it's a lot of the community. I think the community is in such a good place. Like it wasn't always this way. And I talked to a lot of like OG guys at Bliss last year, and they were just like, man, this is great. This is what Bitcoin used to be. These were the early days. And I'm trying to remember the guy that came from Germany, and he just finally got back into Bitcoin. He was like so like thrown off from everything that happened. He kind of disappeared, and he's like, man, it's just good. This is what it was like back in the day. And I thought that was like, wow, we're here. Like to hear that from someone that went from BTC, sub $100, to today, and it just made me feel like we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I can second that. We are definitely doing the right thing. The fact that we're talking about Bitcoin Cash cockroaches and we're not being flamed from everyone in the community right now is testament to the confidence that people have. There were a few people who said, about, hey, linking us to cockroaches, like cockroaches are dirty. And those people that I flagged is like they're, and I got the point. Like if you lean on this too heavily, sure. But it's a great analogy. It's like we survive everything. We survive the atomic blast. We're still there and we thrive. And even those people ended up sort of signaling is like, yeah, it's pretty cool. Like we survive everything. And the fact that the BCH community can use sort of memes or even self-deprecating, that comes from a place of confidence, and it shines through. And that is, I really believe, that's the real success. The great product, BCH has been a great product since it was created in 2009. The community is what's pushing that forward more than ever before, and it's wonderful to see.
I mean, I've really loved the cockroach meme because for me, it's reminiscent of like the branding in the way that BTC, was great, and I was all in on that branding, and I loved it. I fell in love with Bitcoin when it was still orange, etc. And then in that period from 2018, 2019, 2020, the community slowly shifted over to the green branding through a kind of consensus negotiation and just adoption. And of course, a lot of people initially didn't like it because they were so emotionally anchored in the orange and etc. And the BCH community had to go through a lot of trauma and process, having lost against the hijackers in the first Civil War and so forth, right? But then over time, people have come to embrace it, and they, like it more. Like I like the green now more than the orange because, again, with just mass exposure, my emotional investment has changed. And in hindsight, it seems even better because it's like, well, now you've got the same thing, but you also have that historic reminder of not to be swayed by censorship attacks. Green is the color that is universally on the price exchanges when the ticker goes up, and the whole world associates with being environmental and happy and so forth. So it actually seems like an upgrade in a weird way. And I feel like the same thing with the cockroach meme, because it reminds me of the honey badger meme, which we have in the intro to the show. It's on that billboard. Like that was it. Bitcoin is the honey badger of money. And that was the original sort of logo. Like every kind of sports team, and they have a mascot, right? And those are often animals, and the honey badger was the thing. And the whole concept was that a honey badger is A, pretty unstoppable, B, ferocious, and C, it's very willing to fight very aggressively against animals that are much bigger than it until they back down. There's some amazing videos of like honey badgers, which are tiny, relatively speaking, against like multiple lions, and the lions eventually have to back off. Like they just can't fuck with this honey badger, right? And that was perfectly embodied the energy of the Bitcoin community at the time, and they still have that, and we still have that like in the badger coin and stuff. So there's still a little bit of that. But the cockroach meme was great because it provided, in the same way that orange transitioning to green, I think in hindsight gets seen as an upgrade. It's the same way with the cockroaches. Like a honey badger is pretty badass, but I would actually bet on a cockroach or a swarm of cockroaches, especially the cockroach, to outlive the honey badger, right? And it's just that same, it still has that same energy of being resilient, but just amped up another level. It has that same energy of not giving a shit what anyone else thinks, but again, just amped up a level. And so the fact that the community hit on that and responded to that, and adapted to that, I think is perfect. It has a very decentralized vibe. Everyone knows cockroaches come in swarms. That's the whole reason why you got to kill the first one, because otherwise, like, all his mates will be there as well too. And yeah, that's it. They're just even expendable, even to a certain point. But it doesn't matter because the swarm is just going to keep coming through sheer resilience and not giving, a crap.
Nuclear war, we don't give a shit. Quantum Day, don't give a shit about that either.
Quantum cockroaches. That's the new thing. We need some AI memes of like the quantum bomb dropping on the crypto industry and then the cockroaches emerging from out of the wreckage. Like there's something to that for sure. Yeah.
I want to add one other thing, Jeremy. You might have it coming up here, but I think in terms of storyline for the past year was the BCH bank runs. I might be jumping ahead. I haven't seen the slides.
But it's yeah.
I mean, I think that was huge storyline. And big shout out to Jeremy. He did a lot for our community, but I think he really pioneered that. And we put a lot of pressure on a lot of exchanges. Prices started moving funky around every time. We saw odd feedback from exchanges too as to why people weren't getting their BCH. And we could claim to know why. But now we have Binance actually publishing reserves. I'd be careful in trusting that too. So like they're feeling some pressure. Just like you trust the government to tell you how much gold they have.
Wait, Binance is actually publishing BCH reserves now because they weren't before.
Yeah, it was about a month.
Well, you missed that.
Ago.
That's a massive success. Yeah, that's really yeah. Kallisti, where were you?
We did it, man. We're doing it, but don't trust them. Keep on pulling.
They've got 800,000, I think, right? 800,000 BCH, but I believe that it's been going down quite quickly too. So yeah, but it's good. It's good. And the thing is, what I love with the BCH bank run, it's really the incentive. You don't go to the exchanges that like are being honest. Like pick those ones that aren't. Pick the ones where you think, hey, there's some shady going on there. So like Binance is now showing it, and I agree with you with Ryan. Like we shouldn't just trust that. Check it out. But they are showing that now. They've got the chain and they're showing where their BCH is. But there's Molecular. He's been having quite a lot of issues with different exchanges he's using. But like this exchanges that are having withdrawal issues, that's kind of the ones that the community should be hitting. They're the ones that are selling probably, maybe paper Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah, and I got to give credit to Fiendish as well. He was definitely a part of this episode. I think it was with him and also with Emergent, right? Where, if I remember right, and we were talking.
That's where the original idea, I believe, came from. Yeah, in that episode.
Yeah, and so the community just coming up with its own organic solutions to these kind of problems, and then a little bit of implementation, and a few months later, and I mean, it all ties together nicely because you think if MFI are trying to buy 500 million. Maybe they're going to have a significantly tougher time getting those coins locked in on chain than they would have had in a world where we hadn't been doing the bank runs for the last 7-8 months. What did it start in March, I think, right? So we've done 10 months maybe of it. So we'll come up to the 1-year anniversary in March. And there's so much innovation that can be done in that as well, too. I haven't had the time, but I'm somebody out there is going to be the bank runner guy who is like, okay, I'm going to run the Twitter account, announce it every week, get it on everyone's radar, make an app that tracks, the exchange flows and all of that stuff and graphs it against the price. Maybe we hit a high score some way that you can gamify it, or people can get cash token reserves. Like somebody can do a killer job with some kind of app around that because it's already shown as a culturally mimetic thing. It just needs the right person who's got the time and energy to make it happen.
And just to add to that real quick, if there's a way, we talked about this on a Blaze call in terms of just things to run, but like memorize transaction behavior that any developer that's listening or developers on the show, like even for you guys like Jeremy and Jet that are on the Bitcoin Cash podcast here, like subscription models and stuff like that. But if you could do like a memorized bank run, all right, on the 1st and 15th, withdrawal to here. I think Jonathan explained that that's a challenge in one of his big wish lists for crypto. He thinks it'd be massive for memorized transactions to take place, but that's in the future. but also another thing to compete with the legacy system. That's me as a business owner super helpful for monthly transactions and stuff like that. But and I can see it implementing well into the bank run. Bring your BCH home.
Yeah, the recurring transactions. That's true. If we can somehow automate it so that, well, that might be part of the tooling that we need to help switch businesses move across from one to the other, much aside from the accounting and tax and all that legal stuff that I said, we're definitely going to need to work on this next year. That's a great concept. Is what if we get them those tools and then we have a switch somewhere, which is, do you want to move 0.1% of your funds each month into BCH, or perhaps of the BCH that you're receiving, do you want to start keeping a percentage of it rather than automatically selling it off or whatever? And then then the bank run can just automatically, there's a huge hit as just every week, like the beat of a drum, as every 2 weeks roughly, the coins just all pop out of circulation, because all the accounting and business tooling that we have, as well as maybe the wallet, starts to just automatically sync up on that. Like, then it's just the same as anything. It's more efficient if we automate it. So the less people we have, obviously it's good if everyone goes and logs onto the exchanges and withdraws and so forth. But if we just automate it, we'll forget about it and it'll start doing more damage than without any effort, right? So maybe that's the next innovation to come up. I don't know if anybody wants to touch on any of these other points here on the slide for the BCH. Velma, anything about that? Or I think we've kind of already covered a lot of it, though, really. So let's just get on then with the second story. So my second story for the year was AI, ZK, and Quantum. Quantum sneaking in there a little bit at the end. It's certainly just the last few weeks it's become very topical. Nick Carter has been pushing it on Twitter. But basically this year, cryptocurrency was definitely no longer the trendy tech child. AI started receiving all the cash that VCs wanted to throw into the next big thing. So BCH didn't really get as much of that. Zero Knowledge has been cooking away in the background and seems to kind of be hitting critical mass in terms of its development, and that overlaps with cryptocurrency, of course, as well. CBDCs haven't shown up, but there has been digital IDs and debanking and so forth, which is getting people more concerned about privacy. Zcash obviously had an enormous run, which also helped to push privacy into the public consciousness. And of course, Quantum also is now a tech narrative that people are worried about. So I don't know who's best to start with here. Maybe Kallisti. What do you make of all this? You actually predicted, we'll see in your predictions, privacy, and you were spot on about it. Did it play out as you imagined, or what? How'd it go?
Definitely didn't play out how I imagined. I mean, I just know that privacy is a big issue because it's a practical issue, well beyond crypto. And we actually do see a lot of governments, I think especially in the EU and Australia, cracking down on this like super hard right now. A lot of digital ID, age verification stuff happening right now. That's scary. And governments have really been trying to do this power grab for over a decade. I think it really started ramping up from my perspective with like second term Obama. So I mean, what was that, like 2012-ish? I think that kind of tracks. Harambe died around 2012. The Mayan calendar ended in 2012. So yeah, I don't know, privacy. It's just a big deal. And I think people are realizing why it's a big deal. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, I have nothing to hide and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, well, why do you have curtains then for your house? How about you piss with the door open then? No, you don't want to do that. You care about privacy. So I don't know why people think that it's okay that everybody can just like see all of your transactions and whatnot. Yeah, we're on a transparent blockchain, but we try to do as much as we can to obfuscate that. We have Cash Fusion, we have HD wallets, and we're working on shielded transactions and other ZK technologies and whatnot. So I mean, that's definitely on our radar as well, and just like it was last year, and there's been some progress on that front too, which is nice. And then let's see, we've got AI. I mean, I think AI is like one of the only interesting things happening in tech. I would say it's like crypto and AI And then if you're in hardware, you're golden right now. If you're only in software and not doing something related to crypto or AI or something in the real world, you're kind of cooked right now. I've had a lot of friends in the industry reach out and be like, oh man, like I'm a little worried about my career because I just got laid off from Fang, and or like my contractor friends are kind of dry on work. But I think if they were a little more open-minded to crypto, then maybe we could find some work for them.
Yeah, Fiendish, any thoughts on these ones?
Yeah, so thinking about CBDCs, this is the one that I think is super interesting. So in the European Union, there has been a tremendous amount of work actually towards the digital euro in 2025. And in 2026, there's a couple of new directives that are full in force. So they've already been partially implemented, and that's MiCA and DAC 8. And, this is basically a further erosion of privacy. All of the crypto exchanges in European Union, any CASPs, so basically anywhere that's facilitating, if your Salim wallet, for example, was to be set a custodial, then you would need to be reporting all of your users' information to the tax authorities, and you would have to KYC them. And so there's some, and these are all like big legal changes to basically bring in already essentially complete transparency of people's financial transactions. And the digital euro, I think, is currently planned 2029 is the sort of the date where they're sort of penciling in for. So that's been kicked down down the road quite a bit, thank God. I thought that would be already coming in maybe 2026, 2027. So we've got a bit more breathing space. But that particular point there, no one should take it like that we're safe. We're very far away from safe. CBDCs are a real threat. And everything we're doing with Bitcoin Cash is to stop that, prevent that. And the more adoption we get before that comes out, the more sort of goodwill from the public that we can get towards crypto and the benefits of privacy and being able to transact without the government or anyone else knowing, the better. Because that's going to be a hot topic. And when we're there, it's gonna be the worst nightmare. So I really think it's one of those things that it's the boogeyman, but it's very real. So which kind of leads in nicely to the privacy aspect. So I think that privacy is it's not that it's important, it's critical, it's essential. Without privacy, it's any chain becomes a CBDC in everything, in all the things that matter. If the government can track every transaction you're making, then in the end of the day, you're not free. So privacy is a really important aspect. And I think the Bitcoin Cash approach this and the developments that have been made is just the perfect way. Transparent base layer, and with the additions to the chain and the upgrades, especially next year, we can have the latest, greatest privacy applications that are using Bitcoin Cash, and that's great. You're not basing the entire chain of that. Whenever if there's a backdoor or a Zcash, okay, then you have to hard fork the whole chain, and it's a real problem. Whereas with Bitcoin Cash, it's going to be, hey, you don't trust this particular flavor of privacy anymore, just use something else, and so allow the free market to find the best and privacy tech on Bitcoin Cash. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm really glad that these topics are being openly talked about quite a lot by Jason, and I think I hope that next year we'll see more of that tech actually being utilized, developed and utilized on Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah, I think a lot of other coins that are competing with us, they don't really realize. I mean, we've been telling them for a little while, guys, we're just going to replicate your tech, and that's an answer, but it's not the best answer. A better answer will be, we've already replicated your tech. Here it is. It's already implemented. Maybe we even made it slicker than you have. But then it's going to get really crazy, because then it will be, we've already copied and implemented your tech and your competitors' tech, and we've chained them together. So BCH holders are getting the benefit of your thing and the benefit of somebody else's thing, as well as maybe a third thing or something we cooked up ourselves or whatever. So we have a whole pipeline. Like, you just cannot match that if you are one of those other coins. And so I think that's just going to put it, and then of course showing that off to the outside world is just so powerful. So I'm really looking forward to when we start to get to that stage. And then you layer in, and you can also use it in DeFi. Like, how do you compete with that? There's just no way. It's just up to us as to when we can ship it. What do you think, Ryan? You've been a bit of a privacy guy in there for a while.
Yeah. I agree with a lot of what Fiendish said there. If you don't have privacy, you're not free. And the BCH approach to it, like what you just laid out there, Jeremy, is like we're going to have everything. And, I think similarly, in the United States, we bought ourselves some time with this last presidential election. There seems to be a bit less heat on crypto. But I think it's just time that we bought. I don't think we bought, a forever solution, and we're going to keep on. And not that we've elected saints to office, but I don't think we will be able to continue to do that. We need the tooling to protect us. But yeah, so hopefully the time bought now keeps the development going. And it sounds like, you're saying in the EU 2029, again, feeling a lot less pressure, all those IRS agents that were going after people, and seeing like the Tornado Cash developer arrested, seeing a Roger get arrested, seeing, different friends have all kinds of, odd tax issues, without exchanges properly identifying proper cost bases, claiming they owe a lot more money. Those issues are definitely far less over the last year or so. So let's take advantage of the time we have, and it seems like we are. So really excited for Bliss this year to see the latest innovations, what developers are cooking up. I think there's also this needs to be protected in a way, with the arrest made, that these tools need to be built, and the persecution those kind of people face. So big shout out to the people that are doing this, because as long if the public can stay strong against, and say this is what people want and need, they need privacy. Who's going to build it, and who's, I know there's a lot of anonymous activity that goes on in crypto. We need to keep that and protect those people so they continue building the tooling that everyone needs. It's for everyone's benefit. So huge shout out to the developers that are doing this. It's kind of scary, in a sense. We're up against something big, but we have the space and time to build it, and it'll be huge. And it's for all the core reasons we love what we do. We need this part to make it really happen.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, I've got my third storyline here. BTC spam war. So this was almost I in a way, like, I'm hoping that by the show next year we're not going to have really a BTC related storyline at all, or maybe it's huge flood of defectors starts or something like that. But this one ties into me in 2024. The top story was Roger with the hijacking Bitcoin release and everything that went around that, and the larger crypto industry starting to learn about or clue into the whole hijacking. But at the time, there was still a lot of resistance from the BTC guys. They couldn't really debunk it, but they still didn't really want to listen. But the point kind of got driven home in 2025 with the ordinals and data spam, quote unquote, dominating the BTC narrative, which of course a lot of people are watching. Infighting reaching the worst state since the block size war. Filter was in disbelief as Bitcoin Core merged one change after another. Doc changes, op return tweaks, and relay policy changes. Their outrage and node running did absolutely nothing to stop it, and that has started to clue them in that maybe their whole UASF nodes thing, maybe they aren't as powerful as they think. They've been working away on some solutions after many months of being told about it. They finally got the idea and went for the fork proposals with BIP 444, now BIP 110, and also the CAT to burn UTXOs. I, of course, am not bullish on those working out, but at least they're moving down the pipeline. They're slowly trying one thing after another to figure it out. Of course, they're still largely in denial about the hijacking. They even call it the hijacking, though. That's the funny thing. They say, oh, BTC has been hijacked. It's been turned into digital data spam services and so forth, but they won't say Roger was right or the Bcashes were right or anything like that. but even just the last few days, Adam Back has been getting aggressively called out by what's his name, Matthew Crowder on the Bitcoin University as a compromised bad actor. You had Mechanic and Luke on stage telling Lop and Peter Todd, that they were bad actors that we covered on the show. Like, they really are having a bit of a meltdown over there. Of course, from our perspective, it's really just time is a flat circle. Like, they had to learn this lesson eventually, and this is just the format that they've chosen to do it. As a secondary side effect, CTV and Cat, not the Cat. Now there's OpCat and the Cat. OpCat have been completely sidelined and out of the narrative because there's only so much time and attention. So if they're pouring it into infighting over filters, it's not going to happen on anything productive. So that's wrecked. And Are We the Baddies hasn't fully set in. Maybe, the idea is circulating, and of course it hits everyone at a different moment in time, but you still aren't seeing that total admission really of like, crap. Maybe we'll see that coming in 2026. I'm going to give Kallisti the first bite of this one for two reasons. Firstly, because I think he's most in the trenches a lot of time with the Twitter warfare. And secondly, also because one of my favorite moments of 2025 was the Op Next and calling out the panelists as to when are you going to fork? What are you guys waiting for? And then that was amazing. If anybody hasn't seen that clip, go back and find it. We covered it on the show. It would have been whatever the episode was at the end of April or start of May. Where they were on stage big noting themselves about, okay, guys, we've got to take some action. We've got to do something. And Kallisti says, why don't you guys just fork? And then they immediately walk it back and say, no, we can't be too decisive. We can't upset anyone. That just shut the whole room down. I'm telling you, there's a whole room of 50 guys sitting behind us that were all just in silence at that moment. That was insane. But anyway, this is all to say, the BTC spam war was a big part of 2025, and it's what I think it will be remembered for in the same way that 2023 is the ordinals year. So, Kallisti, tell me about the spam war.
2025, the first year of the flippening, I think, truly. And the spam war, I mean, honestly, I kind of unplugged from most of the BTC stuff over the course of this year. As that nonsense got louder and louder on their side, I'm just like, okay, well, I'm gonna leave them to their mess because we're over here on BCH thriving, growing, lots of work to do. Can't really focus my time on a sinking ship. Why would I bother with that? I think Op Next was kind of the beginning of the end of that for me. And then just the whole, I mean, it wasn't ordinal so much. It was like the op return stuff. I think that's where I started tuning out the not stuff. I had to mute some words and just okay, y'all are not serious. It's also kind of coincidental, I guess, on the whole Twitter warfare front. A lot of the BTC people have been a lot more receptive to me being on their posts and in their spaces and whatnot. I've gotten a lot of unblocks actually from some of the influencer class on that side, so that's kind of interesting. And then we've made some inroads at OpNext, which were real nice. Shout out James O'Byrne, who was just in the podcast chat again recently, and he's been kind of a consistent point of contact along with Moon Settler, where it's been man, what are we doing, and are we going to get anywhere? And kind of just time is showing nope, but this was all predicted, right? So this is why we're on our side of the fence. So yeah, I mean, I think OpNext did what we needed to. Not going to go again this year. We're just going to leave them to their soup.
Ryan, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I thought about this before the show. I used to see this meme a lot of BTC being a Trojan horse and acting like it's gonna be a neutered version of what Bitcoin can be. Then it's gonna turn out to take over everything. And I mean, clearly watching now, if anyone shares that meme, I think you're just silly. It's to me, I find it so fascinating that all these big thought leaders within the community that have destroyed Bitcoin now are all fighting themselves. Peter Todd, Adam Back, Mechanic, and we talked throughout the years about just, the Moon Settler thing's kind of encouraging that we don't necessarily need these people. You know, there's so many new people out there that haven't touched Bitcoin, but you know, I think so many people, there was some intellectual capital that did go to BTC, and they're kind of like less engaged over the years, a lot of them. But they what was it? I think they just wanted to be on the winning team. Like they felt like BTC had this big price, had all the branding. Like they're probably the kind of people that, you know, change their favorite team every year by, you know, whoever's winning or whatever flavor of the month. They just want to be on the winning team, rather than we took, you know, we're going to stick it out with our principles and, you know, and go that direction. And, you know, it's definitely taken the years, but like Kallisti mentioned, like, and it sounds crazy to say, but we're clearly winning. Like if you look under the hood, like, and you've said it with a lot more optimism over the years, Jeremy, and this year I'm probably most aligned with it. Just with
it's just realism. Now you see it was just realistic. Yeah. It wasn't optimistic at all.
Yeah, I you know, I would hear you say like we're winning, you know, and at the years with like, you know, CoinFlex falling and all those other things. He's like, we're winning. This is, you were probably right, and I probably should have been more convicted when you said it. But man, we're winning, and we're not even 1% of Bitcoin yet. Like it's insane.
Fiendish, any thoughts? Our cousins in BTC have had a bit of a rough year. Do you have any commiserations for them, or any, I don't know, advice or tips, or just that they're listening? There's going to be some of them listening to this show.
I would actually turn it around and be more for us, is like more for the Bitcoin Cash community. Is one, it's very hard to admit that you're wrong, and don't make them. Like just do your thing, and when people want to come and join, be ready for that, and help guide them on that. And you know, don't rub people's noses in it, because we all make mistakes. Some mistakes are bigger than others. You know, and the BTC one is one of the bigger mistakes. But yeah, let's be welcoming to, or neutral, I guess, to those people is the first one. Yeah, and I think it's really clear the rails have come off BTC well and truly, other than in the price. The price is doing fantastic, nevertheless. But there's also a lesson there for Bitcoin Cash. The narrative of BTC is no longer clear, and that's why there's all these splits. And the same thing could happen to Bitcoin Cash at some point in the future. So we're incredibly aligned today, and it's never been so aligned. And if it was to stay like this, hey, that would be fantastic. But it won't. Things will change as time progresses. And I think it's really important for us to remember that, like in all the activities that we do, we want people to be using the chain more. We want there to be more reasons to buy Bitcoin Cash and use Bitcoin Cash. And that's all going to be very important in creating a network effect and in making Bitcoin Cash money. But that has got to remain the narrative. Money for the world, money that's usable by everyone anywhere in the world. Because if we lose that narrative, which we'll become complacent at some point, if you're like, well, that's obvious, but it won't be obvious for everyone. And I think so for me, like let's be the wise people, learn from these mistakes, and never end up in this place where we don't even know what Bitcoin Cash is. It's money for the world, for everyone. Cheap, easy, quick, efficient to use. Because what's happening on BTC, it's sad, it's tragic. And for any of you BTCers that's watching, you'll be more than welcome to come and join the green team, because maybe today the price is not as high as BTC, but who gives a crap? We're building something much more important, and the price is uncapped where we're going.
Yeah, okay. I want to... Yeah, go on, Brian.
I'd almost challenge the narrative. Yeah, the price has done amazing, but like all the upsides in BCH, like to me, that the price of BTC being so high, it seems like a extreme risk, a $2 trillion mess of a project. Like I see so much more downside than in BCH. I see such a
You're
low
not challenging. I'm 100%.
Yeah,
100% agreed with
like
you.
The price is doing fantastic, and it really, it was at its last all-time high, 69,000. It's like 86,000 now. Like there is, it really is not doing what it used to. It's not this store value money making machine, whatever Saylor calls it. Like it's not a 20% compounding a return guaranteed. Like there's so much risk in it. And then we
There's
haven't
so
even
much
talked-
risk, and the gains are really limited. So the actual all-time high, if you take into account inflation, it's probably kind of very similar, maybe a tiny bit higher. So when the price crashes 80%, so whatever it does, even if it's 60% or 50%, what's the incentive to buy BTC for the average person? As you say, the risk reward profile is just completely out of whack now. You bought it because okay, there's high risk, but looking at the past, I'm going to make maybe 5x gains or 13x gains or 20x gains. But now in best case scenario, maybe you make 10, 20%. And in worst case scenario, you kind of lose everything. So I agree with you full heartedly. And anyone that's got BTC right now, I would be really thinking, if you're in it for the gains, then it's no longer the chain to be in.
Yeah, I got to add one point before we set this aside, which is that I agree with what Fiendish is saying in terms of everybody's welcome on Team BCH, but there's one huge caveat, which is if you're thinking about that or you're interested in doing that, obviously you can, listen to the podcast, you can get into the Telegram groups, you can, follow people on Twitter, or you can, discuss with people privately, whatever you want to do. But you have to admit you are wrong. You just have to. And the reason is actually a self-preservation one. This is not some big ego dunk. There's not some big, vindication of, haha, we were right and you were wrong. The reason that I myself am, just absolutely just pouring ridicule onto people like I think of like Vlad Kostia, for example, on Twitter and so forth. It's not because I'm getting some great fun or anything out of that. It's because we can't genuinely integrate him into the BCH community until he admits he was wrong, because there's too much of a risk for us that we'll put the train, which is running on the tracks, off the tracks if we let people come in and start having a big opinion and stuff without being able to have that moment of self-realization and acceptance. Like if they just, it's like in American politics, people joke about people who live in blue states and the whole place goes to shit, and then they move to a red state so that they can vote blue again, right? It's
I was going to say
thing.
that same thing. It's like, you left there, and that's a big saying here. Like, let's say if New Yorkers come down here because you didn't like the way New York was, don't keep voting the way you were voting when you're up there, and not saying, or it could be vice versa, you're coming here because you got to buy into the mission. And I agree with that. I agree with you a lot there, Jeremy. But I think what Fiendish is trying to say, just like you're more likely to catch more bees with honey than vinegar. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So and I would say there's two things that are being mixed there, and I think that's why this thought process is happening. The idea that you have to be completely committed to something, and the idea that you have to admit you were wrong, then they're not linked, and that's the mistake. Someone can say, I really believe in P2P cash and I really want that, without admitting they're wrong. And that I agree with, like making sure, you don't want people anywhere near the steering wheel or who aren't like committed to that. I mean, they're obviously welcome to use the network, welcome to use Bitcoin Cash. It's a decentralized thing and all that. But if you force people to say that they're wrong, this will, by and large, with the majority of people, by any psychology book, with any experience, it will make them jump to another chain. And if that's what you want, that's absolutely fine. But the majority of people will jump to another chain. They would rather jump to another chain, another community, rather than go through the ridicule of having to prove themselves to a particular person within that community. That's just human nature.
Well, maybe that's something that we disagree on then, because in that kind of case, I would say, good, let them go to another coin. Like, I'm trying to draw a very, very sharp distinction here, right? Which is that if you got things wrong on BTC, and there could be all kinds of reasons, whether you were, following somebody else that you trusted, or you didn't have all the information, or you were fooled about the hijacking, or whatever, I'm not really too interested in doing some big list of, how you got to where you got to. All I'm saying is you have to not only internally realize, like Ryan was saying, if you want to, live in Florida, you got to realize Florida is not New York because Floridians live there and they think a certain way and they do things a certain way. And that's also true in BCH. So it's too dangerous for the BCH community to just blindly hand out, credibility and whatever to people joining who have not had that form of self-introspection, and then also can be humble enough to admit it. As soon as you say, okay, guys, I fucked up and I'm rethinking some things. It doesn't have to be everything. Maybe some of what you're thinking was right. I'm not saying that BCH has everything perfect, because we would already be #1 in global reserve currency if we do. So we do need fresh ideas, and not everything we're doing is correct. We want people bringing new ideas and new perspectives and their existing following or whatever they're working on or their products or services. We want all of that. But there has to be some degree of, I must have been missing at least something because I've ended up on the wrong side of the fence. And so now I want to switch teams. And if somebody can't get to that and they can't honestly make that admission, especially publicly in some form, then it is better that they go off to some other coin until they get themselves on the same page, because that's exactly what I was talking about with the Spartans at Bliss. Like, I would rather not have a Spartan than have an unreliable one, because that's where you're going to fall down. That's where the problem is going to come from. That's the chaos actors.
That's my question. Why does it have to be black or white? Why does it have to be either a Spartan or not a Spartan? What about just you grow the ecosystem and
because that's the Acadians. That's what I said.
But someone's joining is not necessarily okay. They're not a Spartan because they're not leading it that way, but it's still they're building and developing in the ecosystem.
Well, network effect is network effect, and that's always going to be beneficial. But it's exactly like I said in the slides of Bliss. It's the Acadians. You can have some of those guys, and that's great. It's better to have them than not, but it's not where the critical mass of the community makes a big difference, right? So I think, to me, and so I want to give an example here, is like Moonsettler. Huge shout out to him. He did it exactly right. He said a couple times, okay, guys, I've rethought things. I realized the BCH guys had some good points about X, Y, and Z. And everyone said, fair enough, mate. We've argued with you a bunch. You've started to see things a little bit differently. And now you want to give BCH a try. Welcome. Come on in. And that was all it. There was not like he said I was wrong and then he got flooded with people being like, haha, we told you so. It was the exact opposite. As soon as he was able to get over that point, then we were like, come be on Team BCH, which we were already telling him, but then we were like, okay, now you're in. And that's the same.
I think what Fiendish is saying is it's too important. We made too much traction, and we're not asking for public assassination of these people. We're just asking for something. And Jeremy, it could be like some kind of like, hey, because this happened now, because Adam back is a spammer now I can't do it. I don't know if that's enough, rather than to say, I've been wrong since 2017 and go through it all. But like we can't let those people ruin our alignment and vision. I think, again, as the guy that's been in BCH since day one, I would be, could I go through another hijacking or misalignment or, it would be, if you think about everything we've put into it, it's too risky to. There has to be some kind of self-protection to the ecosystem.
I try to walk a line on that personally, because I do a little bit of dunking here and there, and I definitely have in years past compared to now. But I think for at least 2 years now, we've been kind of saying, all right, it's time to soften up on the BTC people, but then they just have more drama that we dunk on, right? So, the script writes itself. But on the other hand, I really strongly believe we do have to overall have the vibe of positivity and inviting people more than dunking. Definitely needs to be like at a minimum like a 70-30, if not more like an 80-20, because you really are going to attract more people with honey than vinegar. So but I do kind of agree. It's like, okay, well, if you're going to come to our gate, you got to drop your weapons too. So if we're out here in the battlefield, right, and I slaughter you in a debate, sorry, you shouldn't have aggroed it, man. Like, if you're just going to be flat out wrong, get corrected. That's just how it is. We need the correct information out there, and you can do that in a way that's not like ruining people. My rule is generally to write for the audience. It makes no sense to get engaged in a prolonged Reddit thread or a prolonged Twitter thread, because nobody's going to freaking read that. go and drop your knowledge and walk away because you got better things to do. And I think BCH is pretty good at that, like not getting into these protracted, stupid, long debates. Like it's just dumb. It's a total waste of time. So yeah, I think being positive and just being informative is the best way to go. And if just putting the straight information out there dunks on somebody, well, sorry, not sorry, to be honest, do better.
I think that we're talking about like kind of different things, right? So of course, if someone wants to come and participate in the ecosystem, cool. Anyone's welcome. To come and influence the system, if you're a BTC maxi today, you have to say, I was wrong for nearly a decade about this shit. Is that like kind of just something? Because I feel like you're both talking about the same things, but influence is the biggest kind of distinction here.
But they're related.
Yeah.
Yeah. But my point is that you can't let people. It's funny that Ryan mentioned about the Trojan horse, because you can't let people Trojan horse in through the back door. Okay, I came over to BCH. Oh, I'm just trying it out. Oh, suddenly I'm influential and I never had to revisit my priors. Like, we can't let that happen, and we're partially at heightened risk of that because we have the smaller ecosystem. So there will be people who will be able to join and bring a huge following with them. And if they never take a public L about it and say, yeah, guys, we fucked up, then they can, of course, they're experts already at shifting the narrative and reworking all their copes and rationalization. We've seen that for a very long time. So I just don't want to see any seeds planted that are later on going to, mature into rotten fruit. And the way to do that is very simply to have people be upfront and honest. It's not asking that much, that if they come, to BCH, that they approach it like, why weren't you here 5 years ago or 10 years ago? Like, you got something wrong, and it's okay. You can even work it out in public. That's honestly the ideal way to do it, is to say, okay, guys, I've been looking into BCH. I'm really impressed by A, B, and C that we don't have here, and I would love to be involved. I think I got wrong X, Y, and Z. Like, let's talk about it, and we can have that as a conversation, and then hear your side of the story, why you think you missed things, or what you were, getting wrong, or maybe something that you think is quite important that we hadn't even considered. Like, there's all kinds of angles to that, but you've got to be able to have that conversation honestly, because I just cannot I personally cannot deal with it. And also the ecosystem at large cannot afford to have this constant, like, how long have I needed to be roasting Vlad on Twitter and he's still coping and complaining like years later, when we could have just had a conversation about this straight up on day one. But it just takes me so long to get anywhere with that, right? Anyway, that's something the BCH community. I think this is a great segment. I think I'll be very interested to hear the reactions.
Yeah,
I'm sure the community will have.
And I do think this is a good conversation now, because I think this is going to be over the coming years. This will be, something we're going to have to deal with quite often. And just how to. I think hopefully if you're saying Moon Settler's doing it right, and like that's accepted in the ecosystem, more people just follow that path like naturally. Okay, he crossed the chasm, and not saying he's a Bitcoin Cash by any means, but like someone like that does it an appropriate way, and then those people just follow that behavior to join the ecosystem.
People are going to solve.
I just like what I'd like to put as one caveat. So for me, what I hear is the main fear is people coming in who don't maybe share the values of the highly aligned community today, and they end up with too much power, and they end up changing that. What I'd argue is, we're a decentralized network. There are no gatekeepers. There is no foundation. There is no official Bitcoin Cash channel, Telegram group, or anything. And so the only way that the community will stop that from happening is by being better leaders. And it's on every single person within the community to step up their game, to be speaking more clearly, more vocally about certain things, and to be a better leader. That's the only way. And that's what Jeremy, you're doing a great job here. You're highly present. I know Kallisti, you're also out there. But this is the way. Be great leaders, because that time will come. There's going to be more people joining in than you can keep track of. And the only way that core narrative and the leadership will stay there is because the great people, such as in this call, are going to be leading.
Yeah, we're 100% everything you said there. Decentralized, no, it's also just measuring that against, what I mentioned at the beginning, what we're up against. I mean, we're up against, intelligence agencies funding the hijackings and psychological operations. So just, making sure is the best leaders we can be. We stand on our core principles and, don't allow us to get hijacked again. And we're building in a lot of good infrastructure that's going to make it a lot harder to hijack this project in the future through the chip process, through the ABLA, blockchain, the way the chain will grow. But we, I don't want to say we underestimated years ago, what can happen. I think it's just a healthy conversation to have, because the more successful we are, the more we face a hijacking again.
Yeah.
If we're not being attacked, we're going in the wrong direction.
Well, that's right. Exactly. And the resistance to the hijacking is in people having public on the record, statements that they are aligned, because then when they later become inconsistent with that, it's very obvious where either which could even happen by sabotage, right? Somebody can be pressured into later saying things that they weren't authentically aligned. And that's what the BTC community is now debating. But anyway, obviously, this is something that the BCH community need to figure out a process for and get aligned on. So I'm glad we're able to have this conversation. Okay, so on something a little more positive and uplifting then maybe is 2026. I've got a few things here for everyone to give their thoughts. I know, Ryan, you're looking at your watch. Let me know how much time you got left, but we definitely got to get some thoughts in on this. 2026 things on the roadmap or potentially upcoming include, debate about 1 minute blocks has been continuing. UTXO commitments, which I thought might be interesting, is apparently now just scriptable, according to Jason Dreisner. So maybe we don't even need that at all. Are we going to have no upgrade? And if we did, which is fine, because like I said, it might be good to have a no op year so that people see that that's possible. If nothing's ready, that would mean no upgrade until May 2028. Do we already have enough momentum that we can kind of afford to do that? Jason Dreisner also recently, not recently, he hasn't talked about it, but he mentioned before transaction V5, and he said that wouldn't be feasible unless BCH was basically in the top 10 to have enough clout to get the exchanges and so forth on board with it. Now, suddenly that's actually looking, reasonably realistic. At when we were 18 or 19, maybe that was kind of like in the future, but here we are, and it's maybe not too far out of the question. Besides the upgrades, increased recognition and traction, how do we handle that? We've been talking a little bit about that. What do we need to scale up? And something I want to just kick off as well with, so you guys can take this in any direction you want, is there's plenty of stuff that's been promised and we need to do a good job of delivering it. We're still waiting on BCH Guru to actually ship something, significantly impressive. Obviously, they have some stuff, but they've promised a lot, and their delivery still is kind of waiting. Parity USD got delayed, of course. XO has been talked a lot about. That's cooking behind the scenes. Deep Mint from the Moria guys has been mentioned, but hasn't come through in a big way yet. BCH1 has been talked about. If we run back Blaze, there's just a lot of stuff that I know the community is all working hard and things are ready when they're ready, but it just seems to me like in 2026, we got to make sure that we're not dropping the ball on delivering a lot of what is getting promised. So I don't know who wants to take this in any direction you choose. Someone jump in.
I can start. I want to talk about the upgrades a little. 2027, maybe 1 minute blocks could be feasible, because Bitcoin Cashologist has been doing a lot of research on it. It's a pretty well thought out chip already. And we still have a solid 6 months to, well, actually longer than that. We have a solid year, basically, solid 10 months, basically, to continue chipping on that. So I think that's actually realistic for 27, given the current state of it. But then when I look at something like TXV5, I feel like that is something that could be contentious, because it's kind of like, oh, we're going to introduce a transaction format that could be like a breaking change in a lot of ways. All of the ecosystem kind of has to be on board with that and support it. So that I think that there's no way that's going to happen in 27, maybe 28, right? This is one of those race to 2030 things, because with TXV5, we get things like millisats, which we'll need eventually. like fractional sats, but do we necessarily need that now? No. But if we do like some projections on price, it's like, well, it could come up sooner than we think. I think like if we look at the 100K level that BTC is at, and then you look at sat parity, I'm not going to do the math on that in my head and embarrass myself, but you know, we're kind of getting there. Where like 1,000 sats is like kind of a non-negligible amount of money on BTC at this point, and we're getting pretty close to dust.
I think it's about 50 or 60 cents, because that's what they wanted to burn under the cat threshold, was like anyone under UTXOs less than 60 or 70 cents, something like that. So
Yeah.
we are talking about, if BCH was at $100,000, you know, 5-cent transactions would be well out the window unless we had this kind of tech that we're talking about.
Yeah, and there are plenty of use cases that I've thought of where I want to be able to implement like 25-cent transactions, like the equivalent of put a quarter into a vending machine or into a parking meter or something. Like we need to be able to do that digitally. And if there's no crypto that's really good at micropayments, I mean, yeah, you have payment channels and stuff. But I'm just the implementation details would have to be pending. I think that's going to be a big one in the same way that cash tokens went through multiple iterations.
All right.
Yeah. If we get to 1 minute block times 27 or not, I think a no upgrade year would be actually at this point like really kind of cool to see. And I mean that from the perspective is like the upgrades really expand the capability of what the chain can do. Like, you know, we got the cash tokens tool, VM limits, so we have all these things the chain can do now, and you know, our talent pool is you know, kind of pulled in two different directions on what the chain can do and what the chain's actually doing. So it'd be cool to see kind of collaboration from these guys that are, you know, improving L1 to just focus on better product and features of what the chain capability is. So I know upgrade year, I wouldn't see it as a bad thing. And you know, maybe that year Bliss could celebrate the advancements of the projects. And I know that's a big element of it, but like the upgrade's such a big part of it. And everyone's so excited for the new capability of the chain, but really celebrate the achievements that these projects are making, and a core focus there. And you know, see people like maybe Jason get more involved with different groups, and you know, BCH Audis and these different guys that are really pushing forward the chips. I would actually see that could be a big benefit.
Fiendish?
Yeah, I think it might be a good thing, to be honest, if we don't have anything. And my logic is this: everything we do is setting a culture. And the culture of Bitcoin Cash, the way that I experience it, is it's a culture of meaningful change. We are not dinosaur coin. We're not ossified. We are making meaningful change to the chain to make it better. And if we don't have anything which we think is meaningful enough or important enough, that's okay. Because otherwise we'll get into the culture of not meaningful change, just change for change's sake. We have to have an update this year. And I think that that's very dangerous. And I think that's just as dangerous as the other side. So if we haven't got anything that has consensus, or we don't think it's important enough, I'm fine with leaving that. And I think that there are, you know, I think the 1 minute blocks is more contentious than people think. I think like in reality, I think Bitcoin Cash Orders has done a great job here. And it sounds like the implementation will cause, you know, basically it's going to be a very smooth thing, and everything's going to be working. But there's a lot of mental sort of baggage to that. We're changing Bitcoin. Yeah, we've been changing Bitcoin since it released in 2009, right? And this is just another one. And I think for me, the only, and I don't even think proof of work is something that I would be set in stone. If we found something that was better than proof of work, that had all the same security profiles, and you know, proof of stake is for me is out because of centralization issues, I would even be for changing that. The only thing, there's one thing that I think about Bitcoin that's sacred, is the number of coins. Because if you change that, you've just changed the entire social contract from the very beginning. That's like the critical part. Like you don't mess with that. So 1 minute blocks is something I would like personally to see, but there has to be lots of stakeholder management and narrative control on that, because it's the narrative that I think is going to be the make or break to that, rather than the technical aspect. When it comes to TX version 5, so right now I was just looking, one sat on BTC is like 0.008 cents. I just do not see the need for this today. Yes, Bitcoin Cash is used globally. At a certain point, we would need that. It's not going to be needed for 5 to 10 years at earliest. Is my
hang on a second?
No,
hang on a second. So if a 1,000 sat output, which is like, for instance, everyone's cash tokens are sitting on that, or roughly something that, if you said it's 0.008, that's 80 cents. If every cash token you received froze 80 cents of your balance to hold that Cash token, that would be an issue, and that would happen when BCH is at 100K.
But why do you need that many sats?
Because of dust limits, but we could lower relay fee also.
Yeah, exactly. But you can lower that, and you can lower the miner fees, and you can make it like a certain amount of sats per kilobyte, and there's lots of different ways that could be done with that. So and when you're talking about like subcent payments in today's purchasing power, yeah, that's what payment channels are for. Like if you're filling up with petrol or something, that's a payment channel, and then you pay the bill at the end. That's I really think, you know, payment channels are also incredibly useful for exactly that. And so I really, you know, I love the work that Jason's doing, and I love the fact that he's really looking far into the future with mass adoption. But changing the address, again, this is a really contentious thing. This requires a lot of, you know, it's not just inside the Bitcoin Cash community, it's all of the people that are using you know, all the exchanges, all of the multi-chain wallets and stuff. So for me, that one's I agree with Kallisti, like 2028, 2029, that's for me is not something I'll be pushing for. So yeah, 1 minute blocks. Let's see. I'm very much on the fence. If we were creating Bitcoin Cash today, I'd say hell yeah, definitely. And I certainly don't have anything against it, but I do appreciate that there are some diehards out there who think that this is messing with the original vision, which I disagree with. But hey, in consensus is really important, and so that's what we need to be driving for if we want to get that in for 2026.
I mean, I think one interesting thing, like I'm also, yeah, sort of a bit so I would prefer, I think, that the upgrade ends up going through, but not at the cost of people being, you know, off board with it in any shape or form. And I think things are trending in that direction, but we'll see. And certainly there does need to be more research about, like, the chip is not even finished. There's a bunch of sections that are still like TBD and so forth. But I just think it's an important part of the conversation because it's probably the most realistic upgrade of any. I think a no upgrade year would be quite interesting. Like for Bliss, like Ryan is saying, we could do the theming a little bit differently. Maybe we could have ghost Velmas, or I don't know, something, you know, it would be shadow Velmas or void Velmas or something. I don't know. It would be actually quite cool. So part of me likes that creative design space, but I think it might also like come up on us quicker than we expect, because a big part of it is the benefit for DeFi, right? And if that is going to be already in BCH and it's already growing, the number of people who are either experiencing those problems or experiencing the results of those problems, like, hey guys, can we just have this? And the devs are like, no, we can't, because, or there's going to be at least a 1 block delay on it. And suddenly people are like, I really want this thing, but it's, you know, then I hit on a 30-minute wait to use it, and like, what are we doing here, guys? And that will be partially influenced by, as the community grows, we're onboarding more people who are coming to BCH expecting it to be DeFi friendly and everything, because that's what they came for. They came from Ethereum with 12-second slot times predictably instead of from BTC, or they came from Solana or whatever. So there's an element of the current community's opinion will be, quote unquote, diluted by new people coming into it. So for both of those reasons, I feel like 1 minute blocks might be more popular sooner than we realize. But yeah, okay. Anyway, we're gonna cut through a couple things because we're already a little bit over time. So we've definitely got to get through predictions. I might actually start with Fiendish, partially because he doesn't have any predictions from last year to cover. So instead, you've just got to take a stab at a few things from 2026. But if you want a bit of a lead-in prompt, I wanted to start you off. Maybe you can work this in with what could the community be proud of in 2025. Of course, you can't have predictions, but you can have retrospective hindsights. And then where can we be better, and what are you expecting in 2026 in BCH and the world in general?
Yeah, there's so many things to be proud of in BCH in 2025. We have had the first hackathon, the big hackathon, certainly since I've been part of Bitcoin Cash since 2021, that I certainly recognize. The BCH Blaze was a huge hit. Well done, Jeremy and team, for that. Huge, just getting new waves of builders, encouraging people from the BTC camp to come and build on Cash VM. This was a huge success. I wrote down some things on this. BCH Bliss as well, I thought was really fantastic. The feedback that I've got from all of the key stakeholders that I know of, who actually were there, just said this just has to be happening every year. This is so important to meet in people in person. The fact that we've got a lot more confidence in 2025. We've released products. We've released Moria USD parity is coming out very soon. We've got a lot of social media interactions, which are just more positive. The cockroach meme, that with every year, Bitcoin Cash is so much more resilient, so much more positive. So yeah, this was a year of great momentum. Of course, it's reflected in price. Are the two linked? Probably. Probably not as much as we'd like to think, which is also a good sign, because all of that great development, I don't think is reflected yet in the price. I think there's other things going on. And what we can do better. So quite honestly, I think we're on the right path. I genuinely think that by and large, we've course corrected every single year, and the path we're on right now is the right path. And if we just continue on with what's going on, we're going to make it to be world mass used money. If we want to get there a little bit sooner, I loved what you mentioned earlier with Celine. Is basically exactly what I wanted to say now. Is I want to see more building. I want to see more bravery. Try things out. And have more mistakes in 2026, and learn from that and improve upon that. So I really want to see just more bravery in that regards with builders, and we're seeing quite a lot of stuff that's coming out, like the Cube stuff from Bitfaced. We've got the Cashinals. I'm not so sure about this, but people are willing to try out stuff and experiment, and I think that's great. Try it out. It works. It doesn't, but you learn from it. And the other final thing is, I think Bitcoin Cash community is really in a great place right now, and I think that we're well above average when it comes to our social interactions. And if I was to go back in the past, I wouldn't have said that. So I think we're already in an amazing place right now, and to expect more is kind of maybe a bit greedy and a bit unfair. But I still think that if we want to grow faster, that the community could still move even more into that, engage with good intentions and engage in inquisitive manner. So to try not to win arguments, but to have interesting conversations, make your point, listen to the other person. And, we don't all agree on stuff. That's okay. And other people have very wildly different opinions on how to run a blockchain. That's also okay. And not everyone's should be building on Bitcoin Cash. That's also okay. But I really think that if the community just embraces in more good-spirited conversations and gets out there a bit more, talking either online and social media, but also in person, from this really confident place that we're at right now, that you're going to see the community grow much faster and with excellent people joining us. So I wish everyone a fantastic Christmas and great New Year's. And I'm so excited to see what's coming in 2026. Just keep what you're doing, guys. A big shout out to all the Dragon Riders in the house. We're going to make it.
All right, before you go, you got to give us a price prediction for end of next year and one or two stats on concrete things that you think we're going to see in 2026 that we can hold you to account about.
Oh, price predictions. I think that the price is going to go up quite radically in the next 12 months, maybe to 1,500, 2,000. And I imagine it drops again. And then by the time we come to this next year, it will be about the same price as we've got today. So my price prediction is going to be for year to day, $750.
Okay, and a couple other concrete things. I mean, I understand, you had some good hype, some good message to the community, but pick some specific things. Projects you think we'll see launched, changes in the narrative that are going to happen, news items that are going to be topical in 1 year's time. whatever.
Yeah. So in 1 year, so privacies will be an interesting topic, but which one's gonna happen first? I'm not sure. So I think parity USD is gonna be very big. I think parity is another stable coin on the ecosystem, but it's following more closely the liquidity ideas and white paper. So that's going to be here's a real one. So I'm gonna, I love the Wizard guys and love Dagger. Parity USD is going to have a bigger market cap than MUSD. That's my prediction. And yeah. let's
Go for
see
one
how
or
that
two
one
more.
goes.
That's a good one. One or two more predictions. I like that. I like that a lot.
EXO will release. EXO
Okay,
will be
yeah.
is going to be out, and there'll be an EXO wallet that will be out. I haven't got any insider knowledge, so but I imagine that will be out, and that's going to be a game changer for Bitcoin Cash and the DeFi scene. And yeah, I did.
One more and you're done. One
more and I'm
specific one.
done. All right, here we go. Bliss. How many people did you have last time? 80?
Well, we sold 66 tickets and we had 50 in attendance.
Okay, sold 66 tickets. You'll sell 120 tickets this year. And yeah, that's my prediction. The next Bliss. The next Bliss is going to be the biggest by far of all the Bliss conferences. You'll sell well over 100, so 120 is what you're going to be selling, and well over 80% of those will be coming. So yeah,
Right.
just hear it for Bliss.
80 attendees. Maybe we'll see that. Jonathan, you might have to convince him if you want to be issuing 20 extra tickets. He's quite keen on the it's 100 and it's 100. So if you got to be in those 100 people, otherwise if you're in the 101st person, tough luck, you missed out. So I would not be counting on Bliss having extra tickets if that was happening. But Fiendish, have you got to bounce? Thanks for coming on the show.
I got to bounce. I got a really important date I got to go to. But I wish you all a fantastic Christmas holiday period again. Jeremy,
Merry
thank
Christmas,
you so much for
Fiendish.
inviting me. Yeah, Merry Christmas. And Jeremy, big shout out to you. You've done so much in 2025. You have been there with the podcast show. You have been doing the BCH, but you've been behind and working on Blaze and Bliss and really spearheading so many initiatives which have been so important in the community. So a massive thank you for all of that. And I look forward to seeing more of it in 2026.
More coming. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Ryan, you're up next. I know you might also have to bounce at a
I'm heading to family vacation after this.
Okay, how much time you got? Do we got to speed run it, or we can?
I mean, I'll get through it. I'll be thorough and
Okay,
and,
all right.
Do a proper
So
send off.
First off, we got your 2025 predictions that you've got to take some accountability on. You doubled down that BCH would be 2K by Bliss in May after missing the previous year on that one. And then the end of year, $800 to $900. Not terribly far off on that, but are we going to see a triple down onto the pricing? Or I'll be interested in that. You were open to a Ross pardon. You thought that would probably come together, which it did. So well done. And you've got the BTC or returning OG converts to BCH, starting to pick up as the reasoning and rationalization process continues, although you weren't too strong about, that it would be a huge flood or anything. You just said, time heals those, wounds kind of thing. So taking a look at your track record from last year and picking again for 2026, how do you feel?
Oh man, I'm feeling so year end. My gut tells me so I'm probably wrong. So bet against me. But I think you've been pretty spot on that, like slow, gradual, tempered expectations, and that's what we've seen. I was expecting more of a parabolic run, something like Zcash got, which we didn't see. But I just think the overall the market getting wider, like those big liquidity dumps to pump something, there's just more choices. So I think it really comes down to what you've been saying. Just slow gradual growth is where it's at. But so I will give you numbers, but I just also see this caveat, which I'll land here, that I think what's going on with the Epstein files right now is really huge. If we get what we get, you could see, and you see a lot of, pick your favorite chartist, Caesar or Sam on X, the big BCH bullish fans. But the only way I see that happening is if this very real narrative collapse happens with the Epstein release in the files, and if it comes out that and just like publicly assume that, I'll make a prediction for 2026. I think you'll have some larger influencers really pick up on this, and how they drive it will be one of two ways. I've seen people like claim that like Bitcoin itself is a failure, and Satoshi, it was part of a psychological operation to get people onto electronic payments. And I think that it's not what the evidence is showing. I think it's we could still ponder who Satoshi was and what his motives are. I think we see him as a good actor, but there's this feeling to point at Satoshi as a potential bad actor. But I don't buy into that. I think that you see Epstein activity take place around 2015 with MidLab, and I think that appropriate fits the hijacking timeline. And I think that falls on its face. You could see something crazy happen. Now, do I think it's going to happen this year? I'm going to be more conservative this year, and I expect I expect in that range next year. We're somewhere around $800 to $900. If I had to hold exactly, I'd say like $850. But overall, like I don't know where the liquidity is going to come next year. I don't see, you see a little bit of easing going on in the United States. You see, pressure to lower interest rates. I think the tariffs has been a burden on the economy from just disposable income. People are getting taxed out of it. So I don't see like any big liquidity spikes that, at least now, unless the government wants to start printing mass amounts of money, which I don't think the public finds palatable. Especially, I think it's an election year for midterms in the States. So I'm going to be pretty tempered. I think we have a slow, gradual growth year, and I'm perfectly okay with that. But I would say bet against me. Maybe something big will happen, and like the flippening will happen or something crazy. But I'm going to say $850 is my number for the end of when we meet next year. But pretty proud of my the other two. I think I did pretty good on. Ross did get pardoned. Super happy about that. And just BTC is an absolute mess, and people are looking for homes, and we are starting to see some kind of migration behavior happen. So, and then my big prediction for 2026, I do think you see a big channel pick up on the Epstein Bitcoin narrative. Outside it's very grassrooty Twitter talk, but I think someone big jumps on it, and but it can't be someone. The fear is that it's someone that just points like bad upon crypto in general. It needs to be, like when these bigger people, speak about things they're not as knowledgeable about crypto, that they say, hey, no, Bitcoin was hijacked, that the true mission was Bitcoin Cash. And when those dots connect, that'll be the rationalization for the price increase. And all these chartists will be validated in their bullish predictions of Bitcoin Cash. But if that happens in 2026, I think it's definitely possible. I wouldn't, do I think it's probable? I don't know, but it's definitely possible. I almost want to say it's probable because the time it's happening now. Epstein files are coming out, and who wants to hop on the news story is the question.
Do you have any other stabs you want to take at stuff that's going to happen? I pushed Fiendish to give, at least two or three. So one big channel to sort of tie together the Epstein stuff, hijacking Bitcoin, and that BCH is the answer, and that creating, a lot of hype and momentum. That's a good first one. Take another one or two at least.
Yeah, when he was going through, obviously I'm involved with Bliss. We did see similar organic growth happen. We have a lot of big things planned for Bliss. In terms of, Slovenia is a great country. I recommend everyone get out there. I do think we will see. We'll have to talk to Jonathan how hard he is. I know we have to book rooms and accommodations, so we have to accurately predict within a realm to make sure we're spend our money appropriately for maximum experience for the people that do come. I like to see a 20 to 30% increase. So if we did 66 tickets sold I'd love to see us, get into the mid 80s. And then, love to find a way to splash and be like, hey, we have this big speaker coming and more people flood in. But we really have to be more predictable. And I think, as I've been chaotic in my life, I need to get, really start working because it's coming fast. As Kallisti mentioned, it feels like it was forever ago. And it kind of was. Like the next one is here. But definitely, we need to even start thinking to next year to make sure we can hit these bigger goals, just get ahead of ourselves. So I'll predict, 85 tickets sold, and then, next big prediction. I don't know how quickly it's going to come. I don't know, but definitely from the tonality of this conversation, if this is representative of the Bitcoin Cash ecosystem, we got the VM limits. I'd like to see a real privacy token, with Monero-like quality, or Zcash or something like that take place in 2026. So I think we'll have our token that is the Monero killer or a Zcash killer. ETH killer has been a saying forever. So we get a Monero killer.
That's good. That's some good predictions. And do you want to give any message to the community, just so then you can drop out whenever you need to?
Message to the community. I'm trying to remember what I said last year, but I'm just super proud to be a part of this community. And I long the day that not that I'm in a rush to do it, but like sell my businesses and live a simpler lifestyle, buy my wife a horse farm, and just focus on Bitcoin Cash. My life and also my children have been consuming to me. Last thing I'll throw out there is I'm coming into our spring season. Might do something fun with crypto with the team. If any, I might do like a small like $1,000 flip starter. I have one of the dads owns a marketing company. If anyone wants like a cool commercial, we can offer something to the community back for some flip starter funds. I'll make a cool kind of like promo video. That's a big part of my life right now is, my kids, my son's 9 and my daughter's 5. They both turned 10 and 6 this year. And, thank you guys for, everything that, you put into the community, and just grateful to be a part of it. I can't believe how far we've come. And it's crazy to sound, but this is just the beginning. We all that hard work at being the cockroaches we are, has really turned out to be something I've never felt. I remember one year we did this and I was like, if Bitcoin Cash is 50th rank and it's P2P cash for me, like that's good enough for me. But like the belief that we are on the cusp of something huge is the sentiment I feel right now, and you guys should too.
Amazing. Okay, Kallisti, you're next up for your predictions.
Real quick, I'm taking my wife on a birthday trip right now. The kids are like packed in the car. Love you guys. Thank you so much for having me back for the 5th year. We'll get out there and crush it. Kallisti, I will tune in and I'll get your predictions. And just real quick before I go, do you have a price number? I'm like super dying to know.
Price number? Yeah, I'll do price real quick because I was actually even just looking at a chart to do my own strategy. I think there's a chance that we actually retest 450 at the lowest, but we're going to bounce off of that. And that could be around Bliss, unfortunately, based on the lines. But I think that the high could go 2 to 4K. And I think that will settle down to somewhere between 600 and 1200, like probably in that 8 to 1,000 range, kind of by like this time.
I'll set my limit orders to 450.
I would say so. Yeah. I mean, honestly, look on the monthly chart, draw some lines. It's clear as day.
Oh, all right. See you guys soon.
All right. See you later. Merry Christmas. Okay, all right. Kallisti, your predictions from last year. Realistic to break the 1,400 2021 high in 2025. No imminent CBDC due to a Republican victory in the elections. Continue to ETH and BTC narrative collapse. A huge year for privacy, including Zcash and Zano, which you called out. Well done on that one. Cash tokens continues to grow. Optimistic 50% chance MUSD listed on a centralized exchange, and the 10% long shot return of Gavin Andreessen. So I think you missed on that one, but it was the long shot, so you don't get docked any points for it. How do you feel about this spread of predictions, and what are we getting for next year?
I feel like I'm 50% a fortune teller. Okay, so 1,400 high. Obviously, we didn't quite hit that, but 600 is pretty respectable. And the way that the chart looks, like I was just saying, it's a nice chart. It's a clean chart, honestly. We get another year of looking at this, and another year of pretending like I know what I'm doing, and I think it's a clean chart. No CBDC, which is great. And Fiendish is giving us some insight from the EU that it looks like they're kicking the can down the road on that. And I mean, for me, sites have always been on 2030. It's the race to 2030 has been since we got in. I was a little bit worried about like 2027. I'm still low-key kind of worried about 2027 because, you know, they could just come out of nowhere and be like, all right, we're doing this. Look at this like age verification, digital ID stuff we were just talking about. You know, that's kind of the first step. We already have stable coins. We already have other like adjacent research. All of Web3 is kind of in this like quasi-centralized thing, like with like Coinbase's base chain. And we just got to get everyone off of EVM world. That's really, I think, the key here. And then we'll buy ourselves another couple years from that. Let's see, BTC and Ethereum are still collapsing. I would say BTC, especially Ethereum, just give it a little more time. Privacy, yeah, we hit that spot on. And I think that'll continue to be a huge narrative, especially in the face of the not imminent CBDC. Cash tokens growing. We're seeing that 50% MUSD on a CX. Yeah, like we just, the thing that's holding us back right now on that is that the predominant node software, Bitcoin Cash Node, and like really all the node software doesn't have RPC for operating cash tokens through the built-in wallet, and that's probably a huge barrier for exchanges to actually pick it up. So I mean, I think if as soon as we get that in, I think there's a huge chance we start seeing cash tokens on various exchanges, including MUSD and probably PUSD. I think I do want to echo, was it Fiendish or Ryan who said he thinks that PUSD is going to be bigger? I agree with that.
That was Fiendish take, I think.
Yeah, so I think I agree with that take that PUSD will have a higher market cap than MUSD. Wow. And then, yeah, I still wish Gavin would come back as well as all of the other OGs and everyone else who's ever left, but you know, for good reasons. Anyway, come back.
One other take. Do you have one other something a bit different? Yeah, a lot of rolling forward some of that stuff. No imminent CBDC. Cash tokens on the exchanges, etc. What's going to be new? That's the real art of predictions.
Yeah, like what's something fresh? You know, I mean, honestly, I do know we're going to go on this trajectory. We're on a good trajectory. I think just keep doing what we're doing, but also we didn't really get to talk about like a 2026 slide. Maybe we can use some of that. Like I think that BCH is going to get a little more entrepreneurial. A lot more legitimate businesses are going to pop up. More products and services, more developers. But what's new? Let's say the long shot Q Day is next year. I'm going to say that's actually a 10% chance is that Q Day is next year.
Wow. Okay.
Because I don't think that it's imminent, but I do think it's worth keeping on the radar. I would say 50% chance that BCH gets an actual like privacy implementation ZK type thing, like encrypted coin, shielded pool, shielded addresses, like something along those lines gets widely implemented within the BCH ecosystem. 50% chance next year.
Nice. Oh, that's enough. You can keep going if you want, but I'm satisfied.
I'm gonna think of like, what do I think is a surefire thing that is new that we haven't already mentioned?
Prediction markets. I'll throw that in.
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure Guru will have a really huge thing come in next year. Like prediction markets are going to be big. I think their model is going to work. It's based on Betfair, or it's like similar rather, not based on. I think prediction markets on BCH as well as quantum Bitcoin. I think those will be two big narratives. Prediction markets in general are a huge narrative, so I do think that is going to be a big one for next year.
Okay. And do you want to do it? Seems like this is how we're doing it today. You give a big message to the community, and then to wrap it all up from your point of view.
I think my message to the community is the same as it usually is, which is keep on fighting because we're winning. I think I've said almost those exact same words like 2 years in a row, and I think I said that at Bliss, and I still feel that. I think we're winning more. I think we're winning more visibly. And I think that it's due to a lot of hard work. We're finally being rewarded for it after being kicked down for years. And I think we're onto a new frontier where we're going to start tackling the things that not only the rest of the crypto industry cares about, but the things that we care about and the things that average everyday people care about. And we're going to package it up in a really beautiful way that is accessible. And it's going to be freaking sweet. And more people are going to get into BCH. There's going to be more and more apps and more reasons to use BCH. We're going to be able to better answer the question of, as soon as you get somebody onboarded, what's the first thing they ask is, what can I do with it now? We're going to have way more stuff to do with it next year. And it's going to be a lot of online based stuff. And we're going to have a lot of monetization models for people to make money just doing stuff that they're doing online already. And I think there was this article I read that I think came out of ETHland a couple years ago called Squad Wealth that I'm really keen on. Just this idea that smart contract capabilities give us the ability to collaborate in adversarial environments. And I think I touched on that a little bit on my Bliss keynote, but there's a huge amount of potential there because this allows community wealth building in ways that are unprecedented, and probably in models that are unusual to a lot of people that don't have to be like socialist. This is like voluntary. It's not top down, and I think that's a really big deal that people are going to be not expecting.
All right, amazing. Jet, next up, your predictions from last year. Not overly optimistic about the price, so $600 to $1,200 price range. Well done, big tick on that. You once again had the best price sense of anyone on the call. BCH to rise to 3K in the case of a persistent BTC chain split. Okay, I mean, the chain split didn't happen, so you're off the hook there. But also you can't, a bit cheeky to put in conditionals. BTC to 7K if Tether collapses. Again, you're off the hook. But next year you're not getting. You got to take some more stabs that you're sure on. And your 10% was quantum computing becomes meaningful for crypto, and I think you get points on that. Actually, that's well done, because especially just this last week we've been seeing people. It's been going on all year. People sort of quantum a little bit. But it's really ramped up in the last couple of weeks. It might be big going into 2026. Suddenly every crypto needs to have an answer on the quantum question. So you've done very well. I don't think you have any misses, but you did caveat 2 out of your 4. So that's good. I mean, I got to respect it in a way. Like, that's just a cautious, but it's like a sniper strategy. So for next year, what are we going to see, and how do you feel about your predictions?
Okay, so this is probably the most detached I've been from cryptocurrency. Like, aside from the podcast, I just don't pay attention anymore. And it's also the most optimistic I am. So I might be completely wrong for this next year. I do think, like, I didn't do any of the math. So I think we're going to touch the top 5 again. And I think if that happens, like, what would that put us for price? Like, we're going to hit at least 2K. I think 2 to 4K seems pretty reasonable, especially if we get in that top 5. Like,
top 5 is currently right now is Ripple at 116,000. So if nobody else moved and just BCH moved, that means we're like roughly 10xing or a little bit more. So we're talking about $6,000.
58 top 5 according to marketcapof.com. Or if XRP comes down to 19 cents.
Yeah. So I think yeah, top 5 is pretty reasonable, and also touching, at least 2K. If it's going to be, I'd be confident to say 5K here. I also think our podcast subscribers from BCH is going to double, and I think we'll see an interesting moment where the price of BCH exactly matches our subscriber count.
Wow, that's a very cool one. And I mean, if the podcast doubled from here, that would be a massive, that's huge BCH uptake, because we have accumulated it over so many years among the hardcore, and that would all be fresh people, basically. So you're saying essentially podcast to 6,400, 6,500 YouTube subs, something like that, right?
Yeah, we got to add on double the Celine users too onto my predictions for next year.
Okay, all right. Solid. Putting your money where your mouth is, or your mouth where your money is. I guess a bit of both.
Yeah, that means 6,000 yearly, and what are we at? 610 30 days. So
1200
1200 30
monthly.
day and 6,000 yearly.
Okay, all right. I'm feeling a lot of sixes in here. You know, the 6, 12, the factors. they're kind of adding up. Do you want to take any other stabs, Jet? Maybe a long shot or something else to round it up.
One.
You can co-sign any of the others. Yeah.
I think my long shot one will be that Steam very selectively starts to accept some cryptocurrencies for some things. Maybe not games, but they've got the new Steam Machine stuff coming out, and I know that. Yeah, that's my long shot.
All right. Yeah, solid. Okay, and then do you have a message to the community? We're doing it predictions and then message.
Oh shit. See ya at Bliss. Go to Bliss.
All right.
I don't want to leave much of a message.
Hell yeah, short and sweet. And finally, to close out the show, it will be my predictions. So I went for last year 75% Ross Pardon, 20% Roger Pardon, but he doesn't need it. He just needs the admin to leave him alone. BTC dominance tops at 60% and then potentially low at 40 to 45%. $1,100 end of year price. I co-signed the narrative about privacy. I predicted at least one proto privacy solution beginning development in BCH due to the Velma upgrade, maybe from a community newcomer. Bliss to sell out 100 tickets or more. Sol to keep gaining on ETH as they fall into disaster. My long shot was that Roger gets a pardon and that also more failed BTC attempts to do CAT or CTV struggle to release a client and we get rage quit or defectors to BCH. Kallisti, you're the impartial party here. Rate my predictions. How did I do?
All right, so Ross got pardoned. Roger got left alone, so we won on that one. BTC dominance topped at 65, it looks like, in August %, and is currently just under 60% with a low of 58 in September. So missed on that one.
That's a miss.
BCH end of year price 1,100. I mean, we're not end of year yet. Shit could happen. Honestly, we could pop off for a minute. You could have like a crazy candle between here and there. If we look at the sell wall, maybe not, but it could happen. Privacy narratives. Yep, we won on that one. Let's see. Proto privacy solution begins in development. Yes, this has happened from a community newcomer at that. Yeah, Sebastian.
I was thinking that. Yeah.
Bliss to sell out 100 tickets.
Didn't hit that.
We didn't hit that. Okay, but maybe next year. Sol to keep on gaining fickle ETH. Yes, I think Sol has been eating Ethereum still, right? That's what you're predicting there.
Yeah. Well, I said, and it was actually interesting to listen to it. I do feel like I got this one right as well, to give myself credit. But I said specifically that Justin Drake's ZK EVM plan would start to become like, you know, a bit of a mess in their community. The ETH Foundation plan would kind of come unstuck a little bit, and the community would be kind of fickle and moving away from them. And that what they really need is L1 fee decreases. And I think that's literally exactly what's happened. Like the ETH Foundation went through all this drama where they had to reshuffle, you know, whoever at the top brass. And Vitalik has been talking about we're pivoting back to layer 1 fee decreases and so forth. So at least in my mind, I think that was pretty excellent, both specific and accurate prediction.
Yeah, I mean, bearish on ETH. I've been bearish on ETH since 2021. People are like, "What? You're crazy!" And I don't know, why do we have all the L2s? Why do we have Solana? And so now I think the narrative is eventually going to come back around to BCH as soon as they all wake up and realize that EVM does not scale, the blockchain trilemma is fake, and BCH was right all along. It's happening because a lot of the newcomers are coming in. We don't have to fight against Bitcoin as much anymore. All right, so Roger did not get a pardon, so that was a long shot. And then more failed BTC attempts to do CAT CTV. Yup. Will struggle to even release a client. Yup. EOI, a couple of rage quits or defectors. Yes. Moon Settler. Also, there's been, I don't know if there's been like massively public rage quits, but there's definitely been some public defection, with Moon Settler being the most notable case.
So overall,
I would say you got like 90% of these, honestly.
I missed on the price and the dominance and the bliss tickets. So yeah, those ones are definite misses. And then the other ones,
I guess it's
think
like
you got
80, yeah,
right.
because
So.
the 10% off. So, but let's not rule out the price yet, because again, there are still 11 days in the year.
Well,
It
I feel
could
good
happen.
because it could. I feel good because I think Jet got the price most correct, but I feel like I was second correct because I undershot you and massively undershot Ryan. So I'm
Yeah,
feeling
now I know to cut
better
all
about
of my
that.
price predictions by about 50%. So like I was originally like, oh yeah, maybe we can hit all-time high in the next cycle. No, we're gonna hit 2K. Then I do feel like the
Yeah,
charts kind of support that a little bit. So we'll see. Maybe we'll get
yeah,
a
okay.
candle to 4K or like a wick, and then the candle will be at 2K where it closes.
All right. Yeah. So we got to see what are my predictions for the new year. I've been trying to think in the back of my head for for price, but it's a tough one. So I'll start with something else. I want to say one prediction: Caesar gets crypto, continues to crush it on his YouTube channel. He's something at like 50K subscribers. I think he can hit 75K. I even want to go big and say 100K by next year. He has just been crushing it. His content is so good. I love watching it. And he's been so hype on BCH, and then it's been coming true. So that will also spread the word of his channel, the Dragon Riders. So I want to say, yeah, let's go big. Caesar to double and hit 100K YouTube subs. Anyone listening to this, you can go check out his content. It's definitely not for everyone, but it's sort of part of a balanced diet of information about BCH, I think you could say. He certainly does a great job of hyping it up. Bliss, I want to, go again, maybe double or nothing on that. Bliss to sell out 100 tickets. I think you could see Fiendish was definitely very optimistic about that, and I don't think he's going to be able to sneak a ticket increase past Jonathan. So I think maybe it'll just be the 100, and we'll get 100 tickets sold, 80 attendees, and there will be a little bit of excess demand. So whenever we're opening that ticket sale, kind of be ready to go on that. I want to co-sign. I don't want to say it's a sure thing though. I really love the idea of a Monero Killer or Zcash cash token on BCH. I'm going to put that at a 65%. I think 2 in 3 probability that we get that. I think there's a good chance that it doesn't, just because it takes somebody who really knows their stuff to do it and do it right. But I kind of want to continue my theme from last year. So I think this proto privacy solution that's kind of in the works. So I'm going to say by the end of next year that we have one actually like solid privacy solution, a new one, cash tokens based one. So that's, or kind of RPA maybe, but something big on privacy by the end of 2026. 2/3 chance that it's a straight up clone and improvement of Monero or Zcash tech. I'm going to go with something on prediction markets. I think that's going to be obviously an area that the BCH community can step up their game in. So for that, I don't know. I just think BCH Guru will deliver prediction markets on BCH, and it will be popular. It's pretty vague, but I think they'll get that over the line. Maybe I want to tie that in with like templates. I think the EXO will get released, like Fiendish said, and I agree with him. I think that will get integrated into, I guess, at least 3 wallets, I have to say, because one will be their wallet, one will be Selene. That's kind of a gimme if I force it over the line, and then at least one other wallet will do it. Maybe Cash and Eyes, maybe Paytaka. So yeah, that gets released and integrated into several wallets. I need some sort of a long shot or something, don't I? A long shot. Especially if it was something new, that would be cool. What are people not paying attention to? VR is kind of on my mind. Like, that's been there for a while, but nothing kind of came of it. It sort of petered out. Maybe something like, okay, maybe 10% long shot on a notable global politician starts coming and talking about BCH. You know, we've already seen that, of course, hasn't really worked out that great for BCH in St. Kitts, but there was like the seeds of that. I can see, you know, Ryan was talking about some sort of influencer channel getting hype on BCH. I can see that happening with a politician, like maybe not Millet, but somebody who needs something to get in the news. BCH is rising and they're going to be the BCH Nayib Bukele or something like that. They decide to go in on that as their brand.
Maybe like a global superpower introduces BCH to their strategic reserve.
I don't know about that. I'm bearish on that.
We have in the US, you know, our whole crypto strategic reserve.
Yeah.
You know, we could add BCH.
Is BCH not already in there?
No, I think it's just Bitcoin. Maybe, I don't know.
I'm
so tuned out of the politics TradFi world.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
maybe
anyway,
a little more plugged in. Suit coiners are kind of the thing right now.
Yeah. That's it. No, so I gotta take a price stab. Oh man. We didn't do any predictions around whether or not the BTC guys would have another split. I would say I think the Knots camp, I think they'll just peter out. I would be surprised. I think they're in deep enough that they kind of got to follow their soft fork plans through to completion. But I think they will follow it through convincingly enough that everyone knows they tried, but not well enough that like it actually launches a sustainable chain for more than a maximum of 1 day. You know, I don't think they'll be able to sustain a chain for like a full 24 hours, basically.
I think there was a small chance originally, but the handlers have introduced damage control effectively. The narrative control really came in clutch.
True. So that's going to be, and yeah, I already did a long shot. So that's my predictions. And for price, oh goodness, this is a hard one because I sort of feel like there's just going to be a boom year. Is it going to be next year? I want to say so, but I wanted to say that last year and I want to say that every year. It's also going to be a typically down year for crypto. You know, it should be, we've been in the BTC boom and then the altcoin boom. We should be leveling off a bit. Can BCH outperform that momentum? Yes. So let me go. I don't think we're going to hit top 5. So it has to be, let's take a look at the numbers here. I think top 8 is very reasonable. We can obviously flip Cardano and Doge and Tron. That puts us top 8. So maybe BCH gets to, what did you say, Jet? It was 6,000 to be in the top 5. So I think maybe BCH hits 2,000 and becomes competitively compared with Solana, which will also have a reasonable year, but will mostly be doing well because ETH will continue falling. So ETH dominance to decline, Solana to hold steady, and BCH to catch up until it starts to get in the conversation of those three as the DeFi chains, because then you have 3 different approaches. You have the classic ETH DeFi, you have the layer 1 centralized coin Solana, and you have the dinosaur reinvented UTXO upstart BCH. So I think that makes a compelling narrative. So that's my predictions.
Doge and 3,500 to flip Tron.
Okay, 3,500.
Sorry.
Yeah, 3,500
to flip Tron, 1,100 to flip Doge, and 3,500 to flip Solana.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get a Solana flip next year, but I think we can get to the point that we're being discussed in those terms because we're like, you know, close enough, and then maybe it'll set us up for the year after. But I think crypto will generally have a bit of a rough year, but Solana will hold steady-ish, and BCH will rise to get in contention. Okay, and my message to the community, I think we want to be welcoming to converts, but we've really got to be careful. I got to just double emphasize what I was saying to Fiendish earlier. I mean, I think the whole BCH community will be chewing over this issue and it's going to happen as a decentralized culture, of course. But I think he was, at least from what I heard and my recollection in the moment, he was undervaluing the problems that we could cause if we allow people to just start getting involved in BCH and suddenly being all rosy about the community without taking some public L's, because that's just asking for trouble. I'm happy for everyone to be coming to BCH. Of course, we want to win converts. I'm down for it. But there's got to be a bit of culpability for your actions, because people also don't really appreciate that other people coming in with larger channels will, of course, they'll be spreading influence onto the existing BCH community members and with the people heavily involved. But it's the same thing that happened in the block size war. Like the big blockers were that 80-90% clearly, and then they were just largely eclipsed by not having a couple of the key pieces under their control and just a huge swarm of new people, which just drowned out the existing momentum. And that's a lesson that we cannot forget, and we cannot repeat that problem. So just everyone needs to be very aware of that. Like Fiendish was kind of saying, yeah, but wouldn't you rather have people getting involved and all that? And it's like, no, I wouldn't. Honestly, I would rather have, introducing bad actors is not a good thing. Network effect matters a lot, but it's not worth it to compromise the community with bad actors.
We
just
gotta
in
seed
this,
the right fruits, really.
Yes.
We're in control of the culture right now, and we want to
It's gotta
maintain
stay that way.
culture as long as we can. But
Yeah.
if we're planting, the wrong fruit, then we're gonna get the wrong tree.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think people should be, of course, like I've said, I want to say it over and over again. I'm not saying be mean. I'm not saying be pushing people away or anything like that. I'm just saying that specifically for existing voices that have a known rep, if they won't bend the knee to BCH, if they're trying to talk out of both sides of their mouth or work their way around without kind of admitting they were wrong or having a proper discussion about what went right and what went wrong and how they got to where they got to, we just can't tolerate that, in my view. But I'm probably going to be more hardline on that than some people. So anyway, everyone can make up their own mind. But that's my take. Okay, we got bring your BCH home, put your coins in self-custody. We now have the bank runs, kind of fulfills this role. So I feel like that's a bit of an innovation on that front. And I want to give a shout out to our FundMe contributors, of course. Majamalo, This Is a Marathon, Cash Dragon, Bastion.com, Fair and Decentralized Twitter, at Cash Stamps, BCH for the win, DGN and FurQ, Sick Rap Anthem, #1, token coming at ya, P2P Cash, Smash the State, greater than 40% APY, HTTPS, //nwb.cash, and Brian Kanachi. Thank you all for your donations. Our donators in general, Ricky, Carl, and HP, our patrons, and our sponsors, General Protocols. Check out bchbull.com. Start guide, FAQ, and links are at bitcoincashpodcast.com. Try Celine Wallet at celine.cash. And if you're new to all this, of course, you can go listen to episode 85, where we kind of break down everything from first principles, and you'll see how things got to where they are today. Thank you all for listening. It's been another amazing year on the podcast, and we will be back, of course, in January for a fresh year of destroying the banking system, rewriting financial workings of the world, and saving humanity from fiat enslavement. New intro, new year. Look forward to it. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll see you in 2026. Thank you, and till next time.
Quick shout out to Cheap Lightning, and quick shout out to my mom as usual. Love you.
Lessons in style, lessons for a while. Heaven can wait. gonna